That's right. It's the inevitably nonsensical, yet hopefully enjoyable, After Movie Diner. If you enjoy the show and have pursued the recommended treatment from your medical providers, why not support the show on Patreon? Over at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Rate and review the show wherever podcasts are found, and rating and reviewing is possible. Even a 1-star review provides useful insights on exactly the sort of petty-minded and wretched individual who negatively reviews free entertainment they do not need to be consuming. So, without further dribbling, please put down your lemon meringues for the one, the only, John Cross.
Hello and welcome to the After Movie Diner. That's right, it's the After Movie Diner. It's back again. Matt and John are talking movies. That's right, Matt Perea, legend, direct-to-video connoisseur, pal, podcasting titan, and can tie a shoelace in 10 seconds flat.
Yes.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Yeah, the shoelace tying. I go through those moments where when I get home, I'm like, I just want to just kick the shoes off, and it's like, no, you really need to, bend down and unlace them. So yeah, but yeah, I also for some reason my right shoe always comes untied, and I find myself like in anywhere, but like especially if I've got like a big bag of groceries on my backpack, and it's like I've got to somehow lean down. It's just.
Oh yes, trying to tie a shoe up while wearing a backpack. Yeah. One of the most annoying things.
It is. Also, too,
yes.
I don't know if it's innate. It's like also too like, but walking, my pants might seem like they're perfectly snug around my waist, but it seems like the moment I go to bend over to tie my shoe, suddenly I realize like no, they're a little lower than they should be. So it's like almost like it's better to like angle myself so that I'm facing a building or something. And
so what you're saying is, as you bend over, your pants fall down slightly,
right,
and then your rucksack or backpack knocks you out.
Right.
So you end up flat, spread-eagled on the pavement, but looking up at moon, some might say, looking up at the sun.
Right.
Right there in the middle of Philly.
It's a distinct possibility. I think the last thing you need is to get, an indecent exposure charge for something like that because you had to tie your shoe. Right.
While passed out.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
But that's why, ladies and germs, Matt Perea designed his very own delacing procedure that takes, as I said, under 10 seconds and can be done in full standing position.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more, head over to Matt's YouTube channel, The Delacer.
I should post a video like that because at least YouTube won't like bust it for copyright infringement or whatever. So, yeah.
Oh, yes. Tell us all about, I think, because last time, I don't think we talked about it, but you have started something of a YouTube series under the DTVC moniker. And tell us all about it. Matt, over to you.
Yeah, so I don't know what prompted me, but I had this idea of like, what if I just watch like, action sequence clips from, movies that we really love and just talk over them, do some commentary, all that kind of stuff. The first one I did was Skyscraper, which I know you covered recently on the PM podcast.
Right.
And it was a lot of fun, but it seemed like each one I did, except for the only one I believe was Strike Commando, because that's owned by the guys at Severin or the crew at Severin, and they don't, they accept that kind of YouTube use. Everything else said copyright, but it was like copyright, but you can use it. It's kind of like if I ever got monetized, they might take a cut or whatever. But this past week, I posted the Steven Seagal one that was kind of blowing up from my channel. It's got like 2,000 views at this point, which is like, again, for my channel with my 60 subscribers and everything, it's like a bigger deal. But I was looking around on YouTube and I was like kind of trying to figure out some other stuff that I can do. And I see this button that says inspiration. And I click on it because I thought it might just be like people who've been doing YouTube for a while would give me inspiration. Like, oh, here's what I do. Here's how I name, all that kind of stuff. No.
You'd press it and the ghost of, I don't know why the ghost, because he's not dead, but an apparition of Tony Robbins appears and like dispenses sort of meaningless bon mots. You know what I mean?
That would be better.
to climb the mountain, one must first find the mountain.
Right.
It's just some sort of weird hologram of Tony Robbins shows up.
That would have been better than what we got. What it is it's AI generated suggestions for what your next post should be. And one of them was, this is the exact title, how 1993's Kickboxer was inspired by Street Fighter, which, first off, sorry, not Kickboxer, King of the Kickboxers. King of the Kickboxers came out in 1990. It wasn't inspired by Street Fighter. And then as you're reading through it, it's like saying all these things like Albert Pion, when he directed King of the Kick, it's like he didn't direct King of the Kick. I'm like reading all this stuff. But as I'm reading, I'm like, actually, it would be kind of fun to do the fight scenes in King of the Kickboxers. So I did the one where he Avedon fights Jerry Trimble. I did the end fight scene with Billy Blanks. And I go through, it's like an 18-minute video. I'm putting all this work into it, getting it all right. And it kind of, I had to do it in 2 parts because it was so big. I post it, and it's going through all the checks, and it says, yeah, this video is blocked for copyright. And I'm like, what do you mean it's blocked for copyright? There are 3 full versions of the movie on YouTube. Who is claiming a copyright that I can't do, kind of like joke, but I was like joking, but also extolling the virtues of it. So it kind of deflated me a bit. I posted it on Facebook so people can see it on our Facebook page, but I don't know. I want to get back in there and do something. It was like, that one was like, I might just have to post videos of me tying my shoes because at least I won't have to worry about the copyright strikes for that.
Yeah, it doesn't. It makes very little sense because it's not even like you could bootleg that particular clip from the film because you're superimposed over it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's very clear that you're not putting clips from the film onto YouTube in order for them to be downloaded but like the only thing that they would be downloading would be your commentary.
Right, exactly. So, I'm talking over them the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, not to even mention the fact that, as you said, there's like 3 other versions of the movie on YouTube in full.
Right.
It's just stupid.
Yeah.
But, who knows how these bots that sweep our content for copyright, how do we don't know how they work. And I tell you what, I bet Google doesn't know how they work either.
No, you're probably right.
I bet Google's like, I don't know. I'm not sure about this.
Right, exactly.
I think Google's just like, let the bots do it. I'm sure the bots know what they're doing. Cut forward to 10 years and the voice from Arrested Development just goes, apparently the bots didn't know what they were doing.
Right, exactly.
And there's like the world is absolutely destroyed and absolutely devastated. And there's giant like spider Godzilla hybrids just traversing a burnt out thing. And the voice from Arrested Development that is now like a sentient eye in the sky like thing. It's just Ron Howard. The AI bots for some reason decided that the world should be commentated on by Ron Howard, like a CGI eye in the sky Ron Howard with a baseball cap on.
Right.
And it just says, it turns out the bots didn't know what they were doing.
Well, if it's the same, algorithm and the same AI technology that created these absurd suggestions for what I should do for my post, they probably don't know what they're doing, right? It's like...
No, they have no fucking idea. Because they're just assuming... See... The scariest thing about AI, especially sort of public sourced AI and some of the stuff that was out there originally, is it only knows what we tell it.
Right.
And that's terrifying, Matt, because unless, for example, if we all got together and we went, well, we'd like, these 4 people to represent the human race, they need to spew all their knowledge into AI for like 5 or 10 years before they give numbskulls like us a chance, right? Because we're just going, we're just writing like obscure movies that were later turned into TV shows by the Reels channel that Steven Seagal was in. You know what I mean? Like we're filling AI with our garbage.
Right.
And I think what we should have done is we should have got, the 5 brainiest people on Earth. And maybe like a comedian everyone can agree on, you know what I mean? Like Nate Bargatze or someone. And the 5 of them just fill AI with useful things and also give it a sense of humor. And then 10 years down the road, they give it to us plebs and we're just like, oh, okay, this is great.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It was like Wikipedia. There has to be monkeys checking it behind the scenes.
Right.
Otherwise, if any, and I understand you take what's on Wikipedia with a pinch of salt because anyone can edit it, but they at least check it periodically, I believe, and edit it where possible. But even so, you can't rely on anything, Matt. So don't. And is the message that I give. Unless it's in a library, I normally think that books, and again, I'm not being snobby because I don't read, Matt. Like I pretend to read, but I don't really read. Well, I read your books,
Oh, thank you.
and I read some of the other books that my friends write, but I don't read as a whole. I do things like I listen on Audible to Steve Martin's biography. That's what I do. And then I go, well, I've read Steve Martin's biography now. I haven't read it, but I've listened to it as I fell asleep on Audible.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know where I'm going. First of all, buy Matt's books and read Matt's books. Secondly, Andy Lunn, a frequent writer into the diner chap, especially around Sleazy Spade of Springtime. He bought one of your books. He read it. He said he bloody loved it.
Yeah.
He thought it was fantastic. I will read you the quote he sent me on WhatsApp earlier this week. He said, in other news, when you next see Matt P., could you let him know that I think his books are bloody brilliant?
I appreciate that.
That's what he said.
I appreciate that because, you see the sales on Amazon, and there's sales that are from the UK, and I'm like, I wonder if that's Andy. Yeah, and so I appreciate that. I appreciate all the support. I think it's I'm glad he's enjoying them. The thing I'm working on right now that I'm hoping so. I hope to have like an actual novel out this year, but I also have this collection of flash fiction that back in the MySpace days I was writing it on there. It's about this sort of like
right.
dandy confirmed bachelor, like rich guy in Boston and his Norwegian companion Mads, and they go through all of these adventures, kind of in the late 2000s. And so I'm going to probably put it together. The only thing with it is that I don't think I can put it on Kindle because Kindle, you need to have chapters. And these are just like these little snippets of like paragraphs or 2 paragraphs or whatever. They're just going to, sprinkle the whole thing. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only experience I have with publishing through Amazon or self-publishing was that I was tangentially the producer / editor of the book that Jim Wallace did, J.E.A. Wallace, rather, for his pen name, all about Hammer Horror, reviews of 62 Hammer Horror films or whatever it was that Jim did, called The Bloke Down the Pub Talks a Lot About Hammer Horror or something like that. Just look up J.E.A. Wallace on Amazon. I think the link is always in my podcast description, as is the links for your books.
Yeah, and I've got to say that is a fantastic book. So like Svengoolie, for example, he will do Hammer films from time to time, and I love being able to just sort of look up, the movie on there and see what Jim thought about it. Also, Tubi has a ton of Hammer movies, and it's like you're trying to sort of sort out which Hammer films to watch. That guide is fantastic. I have it on Kindle, mostly because I can keep it on my phone. So wherever I am, when there's Hammer around, I can thumb through it and see what he said.
If you're walking along the street one day and come across a rogue pile of hammers, you can be like, well, let's look this up.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're like, well, do we go for the Gorgon? Do we go for the Mummy? Oh, they did a Hound of the Baskervilles. Oh, that seems like a good one.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You can do that with Jim's book. And you should also support Matt. All the links, as always, are in all the podcast descriptions. Because, like the great Andy Lunn has proven time and time again, and as yourself has, Matt, I don't even think that makes sense, as yourself have or has. Yourself, well, there's only one of you, so it must be has, I guess. Anyway, that doesn't make any sense. As you have, that's better.
Yeah.
Proved in the past by supporting my albums, for example. And I understand that 2025 has been bereft somewhat of Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures music. I think I did one release earlier in the year, maybe 2 releases, I forget. The beginning of the year feels like a decade ago,
It
Matt.
does.
I can't imagine why. Anyway, enough of that. We're not going to talk about that ever again. But the reason why is I've been incredibly busy. And an example of my incredible busyness was last week. that I wanted to talk about. I went to Florida, Matt, for the first time. I've never been to Florida before.
Wow. Okay.
I went to Florida for the first time. Well,
I got to hear
I
this.
stopped off. Yeah. There was two incidents that I want to
Okay.
tell you about that make it particularly Florida.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, in general, the Florida that I visited, and it was East Coast Florida, Matt.
Same. That's where I've always been. Yeah.
It was Delray, Fort Lauderdale, that area. Okay. West Palm, Delray, Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. It's mostly awful. I mean, if we're honest, it's mostly awful. Yes. I think it was very odd because even living in somewhere like Vegas, which is rows and rows and rows and rows of strip malls, then the center, Vegas thing, and then rows and rows and rows of strip malls, and then dotted around the strip malls further out from Vegas, there's the odd golf course and the odd casino, the odd off strip casino. But it's for some reason I enjoyed Vegas. I liked living in Vegas. I thought Vegas there was a weird otherworldly vibrancy to it. It had as much as it's plastic and awful and a lot of people decry it, Vegas does have a soul. Yeah. I mean, it's a soul that's like, beaten up, hopped on amphetamines, right. and force fed lots of whiskey sours for about 8 hours straight. But it's a soul nonetheless. Right. Florida, on the other hand, and again, I'm just talking about the West Palm to Miami corridor. That's really all I'm talking about on the East Coast. I will not claim, for example, the Everglades still intrigue me, and I still wish to get down there. And I think probably the best of Florida is to be found in the swampiest parts of Florida. I just have this inkling. I recently watched the Gene Hackman film Night Moves from the 70s, which takes place quite prominently down in the swamps and bayous of Florida. And I have to say that area looks particularly evocative, and I would probably quite enjoy it. The area I was in was pish, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend to anyone. It was sort of rows and rows of the most depressing strip malls you've ever seen, tied together with what seemingly are just endless highways.
Yes.
And I know that people talk about California and Los Angeles as the city of highways and things. Again, because I think of their filmic presence, and I think because they're ever present, like any film made in and around Los Angeles, they're sort of ever present. There is a weird music as to the highways in Los Angeles. There's a weird iconic nature of the highways in Los Angeles. There's nothing iconic about that stretch of Florida, Matt. There just isn't. I mean, the Miami, I know, and I haven't been to Miami, but like I know the Miami seafront is, like a Dayglow Art Deco, thing, and I definitely want to see that. But when we're talking about Fort Lauderdale, Delray, and West Palm, I mean, you couldn't tell the fucking difference. They might as well all be one thing. The only other time I've ever felt like that was the outskirts of Houston. There are parts of Houston, not the outskirts of Houston, sorry, the outskirts of Dallas. Dallas itself has... Yes. Dallas, agreed, has like a nice downtown and an interesting historical aspect, obviously, and Deep Ellum is a great art district. But the sort of outskirts of Dallas are just endless, and you just kind of, it's sort of a little bleak. So Florida to me was a little like that.
So my grandparents used to live there. They lived north of where you were. Well, actually, the very first time I visited them before they moved into their house, they were living in an area called Stewart, Florida. And we flew into West Palm. We flew into the West Palm airport. That was in like 88. So it was like, I don't know how many years ago. But then they moved further north to an area called Sebastian near Vero Beach, which is like probably like another like hour or so north from where you are. I think it was like 3 hours. My mom and I went to Sunrise, Florida. So like, I guess like just north of Fort Lauderdale. And that was like a 3-hour ride from where my grandparents were. But I used to visit them a lot. And it was a very unique place because like you said, it's just 3-4 lane highways all over the place. Just every place is strip malls and big, everything is like a long drive to get to places. And even me being from Maine, you'd think being from Maine, like I would, but I guess because it's a more suburban Maine. So even for us, it was like the grocery stores and stuff were closer, but it just felt like everything was just
right.
yeah.
Definitely. And I think it's weird. A country 10 minutes is different to like a concrete strip mall 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because like the one night I was trying to find, I'd got down there and I was staying at my sister-in-law's place.
Yeah.
And I was driving her car, borrowing her car and driving her car because I had to get down to Fort Lauderdale every day. And that's about a 40-minute trip.
Yeah.
And the first night I was driving, the first night I was driving around, I'm like, oh wait, I can't do this. She had nowhere in her car for me to put my phone,
Right.
and I needed, because I've never been to Florida before, Google
Right.
Maps and all the business, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I realized she also only had a USB in her car, but no cord,
Right.
and I needed a cord, and I hadn't brought I brought my USB-C, but not my USB cord,
Yeah.
and blah 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 blah. So I was looking for a Walmart, which was the one I tried a Walgreens and a gas station. They didn't have anything, so I was like, okay. So I went to Walmart, and then it was like, oh no, this is Walmart Market.
Right.
This is like a local grocery Walmart, and I had never come across one of those, so I was like, oh, fuck, right. Where's the real Walmart?
Right.
And the real Walmart was about 10, 11 minutes away.
Yeah.
Well, that 10, 11, I drive 10 or 11 minutes into my town from where I live. Like where I live is 10 or 11 minutes out in the countryside from my town. So I know in my head what 11 or 12 minutes feels like to me driving because I do it all the time. This drive from this one Walmart to the other Walmart felt like 40 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Like it felt interminably long.
Yeah.
Because every road looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
And all it was go straight for like a long period of time. Yeah.
Well, and it's like, I mean, I guess you probably know this being in Vegas as well. It's these big strode, like 10 lane, like thoroughfares where like if you were walking and it's like you wanted to walk across this thing, you'd probably have to sit in the island and wait a signal. Because it's just not any, I mean, and the thing is, I mean, here in Philly, we have these like 4 or 5 lane stroads, and it's just like, what a mess. But down in Florida, Florida, I mean, Vegas is another place that seems, because I've done a little bit in Vegas, walking there. I visited there with my friend one time. But like Florida, for sure, it's like I can just, and I remember my grandmother, she drove well past the point that she should have been driving. And I remember one time we were in her car leaving like a pizza place, and she was just going out into traffic, and she was like, these cars were just kind of flying at her, and she was like, they're not stopping for me. I was like, well, you don't have the right of way, Grammy. But like, I don't even know how anybody would figure out who has the right of way when it's just like all of these turns and everything that go, yeah.
Oh, driving in Florida is an absolute hellscape.
Yeah,
I mean,
right, exactly.
No one in Florida can drive. No one at all.
Right.
Well, no one. Again, I wish to clarify for people who live in Florida, like Florida, and think that I'm coming for Florida in some kind of enraged northeastern type way. I'm not at all. I have no dog in this hunt.
Right.
I do not care for borders, state names, land masses. It's all the same to me.
Right.
I'm just talking about where I was geographically was arse. And the worst drivers, the worst drivers I've ever seen. There's only one place where the drivers are as bad, and that's in Stamford, Connecticut, where the drivers are just fucking awful.
Yeah, I was gonna say Connecticut's rough. I mean, Massachusetts is rough. It's funny.
Mass holes are a whole other fucking beast. I mean, fucking mass holes. Jesus Christ.
The thing about the mass
but Floridians can't drive either.
Well, because the thing with Floridians, I think, is they get the worst drivers. I mean, that's part of the reason why Connecticut is so rough, is that you get New York and Massachusetts mixed together. And it's like the worst drivers. But Florida, I think they get the countries. I mean, they get New Jersey bad drivers. They get, because like here in Philly, New Jersey bad drivers are like another level. So it's just, yeah.
No, there's 2 states I absolutely fucking hate driving through that I have to drive through quite regularly, and New Jersey and Massachusetts are the 2 of them. Countryside Massachusetts is lovely.
Yes.
But driving from where I am, which is Western Connecticut, so I have to drive. If I'm driving to Boston, I'm basically driving the length of Massachusetts, more or less.
Right, yeah.
And it's on the 2 roads you have to drive to get to the Danvers area, which is just north of Boston, that I go to most of all to see Matt Farley and stuff.
Yeah.
That is just a slog. And when you
worst.
get around Boston, just forget about it, because I've never there was a ring road around Boston that I think if hell exists, that's it's me stuck on the Boston ring road.
So here's the history of bad Boston driving. So you're the big dig, right, where they kind of put the big tunnel.
Is it to do with the alcoholism and the racism?
I mean, that doesn't help. But so there's an area called the Central Artery that just kind of went through. That they put it underground with the big dig. But when it was above ground, it was this highway that was just and the bridge and everything was like this series of exits that were very quick. I mean, in some cases, they were like a mile, between them. And so people had to be aggressive to be able to go in and out, to get to their exit, to come back on. And so that's really where the bad Boston driving was born. And even with the big dig and now, with them kind of doing away with it, I mean, it's just maintained that.
Well, the mass holes do the one thing that is guaranteed to drive me apoplectic on a highway, and that is when there's traffic, when there's a lot of traffic, which there always is, day or night outside Boston. When there's a lot of traffic, instead of everyone just agreeing to drive 30 miles an hour and then 35 miles an hour and then 40 miles an hour, a good car distance apart, so that we all get where they're going, they're like 60, brake, right up your ass, like 60, brake, right up your ass, and then you pull forward a little bit, and they're like, boom, right up your ass again. You're like, it's absolutely interminable.
Right.
And so what I do is I end up waiting, so the car in front of me moves, and I wait a long time. And I start driving like 30 miles an hour, whatever, just so that I can keep the traffic moving.
Right.
And they see the traffic moving, and do you know what happens? The two cars will slam in in front of me in the gap that I've left between me and the car, and then everyone's like, boom, again, and I'm like, oh, I'm about to get out and fucking crowbar a couple of bastards to death.
It's funny because you're talking about going to Danvers. So when I visit my family, I get the train to South Station, and then I get a coach bus to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and it goes right through Route 1 through Saugus, Danvers, all of that. I mean, that stretch of Route 1 is just it's weird because I get a little bit of nostalgia for it, because it's like, I'm almost home, because Philly's my home now, but also that's my old home. So I get a little nostalgia. I pass things like Kowloon's, and there's the Hilltop Steakhouse where my parents met on a blind date. So it's like, okay, that's, part of my existence as a human being was formed here on this stretch of horrible highway. But it feels like I'm in the bus, and the bus has filtered air, but I still feel like I can feel the exhaust coming. And it's almost like it just has this patina of exhaust that's just there the whole time. And you're seeing all these strip malls and people kind of coming in and out.
That's a good band name. Yeah. That's a good band name. Patina of Exhaust.
Patina of Exhaust, exactly. Yeah.
That would be a great band name. Yeah. Either that or like a mid-'80s dance craze.
Right.
I don't know why, but I can imagine the Thompson Twins or Depeche Mode or someone doing a song called The Patina of Exhaust.
Yes.
And it's just people in lots of gray long sleeve tees and beanie hats, all doing weird German expressionist dancing to the patina of exhaust, while an incredibly drony voiced white man over the top of it while wearing thick eyeliner just goes, "It was Germany," or whatever, you know what I mean? They sing some mad they were in the Bauhaus and we were dancing to the patina of exhaust, and they're all just
right, yes.
Yeah, it's great. No, I can imagine.
Met him at the Kowloons yesterday. Meet him at the Kowloons for the patina of exhaust. Yeah, I'm kind of going between the
down at the Kowloons, they're doing the patina of exhaust. Anyway, I can see. What's his name? Who did Cars?
Oh, Newman. Gary. I actually saw him at
Gary Newman. You could do Gary Newman would do a patina of exhaust.
And crazy, I saw him in Boston. I saw him at the I think it was the Roxy in Boston. So it all comes back to Boston somehow, I guess. Yeah.
You said Boston the previous time when you said, I saw him at the Roxy. You said Boston in a very pleasing way. Your accent came out, and I love when your accent comes out. I just, it
Which
feeds
one?
me.
The New England
because
one? Because I'm getting a Philly one now, so it's like, yeah.
No, the New England accent.
New England, yeah.
The New England accent. Because you said Boston.
Boston, yeah.
I saw him at the Roxy in Boston. And I'm like, yes, I love it. No, because regional accents are interesting and fun. Yeah. And I know a lot of people like to a lot of people weirdly like to claim an accent when they don't really have one.
Right.
They're like, claim an accent, right? And then, or other people, when you mention their accent, they're like, I don't want to talk about my accent. And I'm like, no, accents are interesting.
Right.
They're vibrant. It's where you get different pronunciations, but you also get different colloquialisms and different little sayings and phrases and swear words and things. We should be encouraging people to. It's like when people try and make jokes about kids slang. And listen, I'm the same. I'm middle-aged. I'm grumpy. I'll make jokes about kids slang. But we shouldn't really. We should be letting them come up with all these words, because that's the English language is one of the few languages where you can actually do that.
Yes.
It's actually a very adaptable language where if you want to be like, well, now splange is all the rage, and people are like, well, what's splange? Shut up, granddad. You don't know splange. I know splange. That's what we should be allowing, because look, splange could be a thing. Yeah. It could also be an album available on Bandcamp right now. Go buy it. Yeah. Splange.
Well, because the thing is about slang is that when you get to be older, you have to always be careful about using terms that the kids use, because you don't want to sound like David Ogden Stiers in Better Off Dead, right? It's like right off, man, or whatever it was that he was saying. Yeah. Right. You don't want to be...
No, stick to the slang and phrases of your era.
Yeah.
So try not to let the children are meant to rebel against you and form their own language.
Yes.
It's meant to happen.
Right.
There's meant to be a point where we don't understand children. And there's two reasons for that. Is one, we shouldn't understand children, and two, we don't want to understand children. They have nothing to teach us, and they have no interest in learning from us.
Right.
So it's fine. I'm over here, and then children are all the way over there, and that's absolutely fine. I'm happy with that. No need to be down with the kids. Yeah. I will just continue to use whatever phrase I want to use, and we can all go from there. I don't need to dab. It doesn't need to be fire or whatever the phrase is about.
Exactly.
Matt, I don't know. Even fire could be out by now. You know what I mean? People are like, granddad, shit ain't fire anymore.
Right.
We say that stuff is bibbly boob. Right. What do you mean you say stuff's bibbly? We say stuff is bibbly. Well, if something's really good, it's bibbly boob, and if it's really bad, it's boobly bib.
Yeah. Well, because it's like,
and you're like, great, okay.
I think for like Gen Z, if they hear millennials use terms, suddenly they're not cool anymore. So it's like if a Gen Zer says something's fire, and then they see like a millennial YouTuber say, "Oh man, this this curry that I got at this Irish pub in New York is fire," they're just like, "Okay, I'm never using fire again." It's killed for me.
Yeah, we're gonna come up with something else. So anyway, I agree, sir, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Keep the regional accent. Keep hitting us with some New England twang. I love it. It's fantastic. Let's go back to Florida though quickly.
Yes.
Because and this is perfect. I can tie it back. So forget that. I can actually segue. So regional accents are fantastic. Regional colloquialisms are awesome. Keep bringing us the New England twang. And what do we think when we think of Florida? What does a certain section of the country think when they think of Florida? And what is sort of the colloquial sort of story that we routinely get? Well, it's the Florida man, right? That's the urban legend is the Florida man, the man who decided to eat a bunch of bar salts and paddle through a swamp in an upturned fridge, still with fresh meat in it, decaying, only for alligators to tear him asunder to get at the meat that he'd left in the fridge that he was paddling high on bar salts down a river. In the Everglades. That's what we think of, right? Florida man. And I don't have any stories like that. Like no one tried to set fire to my car while they were trying to dry their hair with a lighter and a bear spray. That didn't happen. No, it's that was not something that happened. More's the pity, because it would have at least livened up what was otherwise just a very hot and sticky 3 days in Florida. But what did happen was two things as I was traversing in and out of buildings. Okay, so the first one was on the very first day. I get there, and my sister-in-law had recommended an area of Delray Beach, I believe it's called Pineapple Grove, where essentially someone in Florida has tried desperately to like create a sort of vibrant hipster neighborhood with a lot of random murals with, you know, various intersections painted in various colors, where they've put a little wrought iron sign that says like Pineapple Grove. It's basically trying to be like the Venice Beach or something of this particular area, right? The trouble is, as I said before, Florida doesn't have a soul. So it's everywhere you go where you've gone, I recognize this. I recognize that someone has looked at other places. Deep Ellum in Dallas is a great example. The East Village in New York, Venice Beach, whatever. And they've gone, oh, yeah, we'd like a bit of that, please. We'd like some of that, interesting hipster whack. What do we need? Well, we've got to paint some murals. Well, it goes without saying, we've got to paint some murals. All those other places have murals. We better bang up a couple of murals. Jeff, fine. Well, what are we calling it? Pineapple Grove. How about I paint a big pineapple? Sounds good to us, Jeff. The hipsters love pineapple. If I know anything about hipsters, it's pineapple. All right, paint that up on the wall. Right, so it's that kind of place where it's a hipster art district by committee, and despite the fact that when I was there were zero people, and I mean, apart from people working the restaurants, there were zero people. Between walking from one end of Pineapple Grove to the other end of Pineapple Grove, I saw no less than 5 police cars. So again, they are paying the wrong people in this town because no one can afford to live there. But apparently they're paying the police well enough to patrol empty streets in a car where, because it's 95 degrees, they have to have it turned over the whole time because they need the AC on, or they would literally melt. Right. So it's that kind of place, Matt. It's devoid of a soul. It has a lot of police presence, which is unnerving and problematic. And it's attempting something without actually succeeding. Anyway, I went into a suggested eatery called Lulu's. Again, completely empty, devoid of any kind of soul style design. Actually, to be fair to Lulu's, it was fine. The cocktail I had was very serviceable, and the chicken burger and was it fries that I had or salad? I don't remember. Anyway, the fried chicken thing that I had was very good. So I'm not going to shit all over Lulu's. Lulu's was fine. But as I walked into Lulu's, I'm out in the thing. There's a little desk that says, wait here to be seated or whatever. But there was no one outside. So I'm like, I'm just going to go inside. So I go inside, and as I open the door, an Indian gentleman comes out of the restaurant, clutching a book. I didn't see what the name of the book was, but clutching a book to his chest, and went to say thank you. I thought he was saying thank you because I'd held the door open for him. Right. And instead, he stopped and went, ooh, at me, right? And I was like, you're welcome. I'm going to go inside. And he was like, you are going to be very lucky this year. Your aura is green, and that's a great color for you. So to quote the legendary Bill Murray in Caddyshack, I've got that going for me. Right. He tells the story about the Dalai Lama and how the Lama blesses him or whatever. And he's like, so I've got that going for me. Right. Well, an Indian gentleman walking out of an otherwise empty hipster restaurant in Pineapple Grove in Delray Beach, Florida, told me that I was going to be very lucky this year, and I had a green aura, and I should be very happy. I assume that means, Matt, that I've got about 2 months to live, because I assume that anything he said was absolutely incorrect. Because if I know anything about Florida man, It's that they're wrong about everything. So him coming out and being like, "Oh, you're going to be very lucky this, and you've got a green aura."
Yeah.
It probably means that green is my death color, and any minute I'm going to keel over from eating too many chips.
Yeah.
That would be really upsetting if that really does happen, Matt. So let's not dwell on that.
Yes, no. I mean, all the times that I visited Florida, I never had an encounter like. But see, I never do it to a hipster place like that. So I guess that, yeah. That
I didn't know where to go, and that's why my sister
she was like, go to the hipster place.
So I was
yeah. So what I've been told about Florida is
go to the one place in Florida where they've looked at the damn concrete and gone, what if we paint it a color?
Right.
You know, it's the one place that they've gone, I don't know, maybe a splash of color. Right. Anyway.
I've heard the best place is Key West. That's supposed to be the place. My father-in-law has been there, and he said it is perfect. That's the place it's supposed to be. I was supposed to go to Florida this year. So I always try to do like one new ballpark a year. And so my plan was
we've talked of that. So
I planned to go to Florida. I was going to fly into Fort Lauderdale, take the train from Fort Lauderdale to Miami. There's like a commuter rail that goes between, which craziest thing of all, right? The Miami metro area has a commuter rail from the airport.
Yeah.
But you go there and then you can
By the way, we're touching on traffic, transportation, and not only are we going all over the map, Matt, and it's wonderful, but we're talking about transportation in each of those places in a lot of specifics.
Right.
I want answers via email. Do you think Matt and I should set up yet another podcast that's just about transportation? Well, anyway, Matt, go back to your story about the metro.
Yeah, no. Well, so what happened was that I think with the crazy stuff that happened with my job, where I lost the job and then came back to the job. It was during that period of time that I was going to go. So now I'm going back to Chicago. I'm going to see a White Sox game. Last year I saw a Cubs game, so I'm going to go do a same day round trip to see a White Sox game in September. But I do have to add a state. Like you were talking about Florida, you'd never been to Florida before. I added Illinois last year. So West Virginia is the one state like the closest that I haven't added. So I think what I might do is just get a train from here to you can get a train from Philly to an Amtrak there. Just go there and just do an overnight and just be like, okay, I've been to West Virginia.
Yeah, my rule is, first of all, that's the best way to see West Virginia. But unless you're hiking. If you're hiking, West Virginia is beautiful, but the people suck. Sorry, people from West Virginia, but the only person I've ever actually met and conversed with from West Virginia turned out to be a horrible, horrible racist, which was terrible. It's an absolute true story. And he said, well, that's what my dad used to think of them, referring to the people he was being racist about.
Yeah.
And I went, right, you're meant to rebel against your dad, you big bigoted buffoon. And you're not meant to carry his outdated, ignorant, racist opinions into the 21st fucking century. And then got up and walked away. But anyway, yes, go to West Virginia. And I do have a rule that if you are going to put a state on your states I visited list, you have to at least sleep there once.
Oh, so you do the sleep. So for me, my rule is,
or at least maybe spend at least sort of 5 hours there.
Okay,
6 hours.
So you have kind of a more
like get away from the airport.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that's like So because mine is I have to have stepped outside of the airport, outside of the highway as well. So like for example, my wife reminded me that like New Jersey, I actually only officially did New Jersey in 2014 when we went to Atlantic City for something, but all the rest of the times I was just on the turnpike. Because for me, like one of the interesting ones is I did the Four Corners in that
Arizona, New Mexico,
Colorado,
and
Utah,
right?
And so so I walked, did those. It's interesting when you do the Four Corners because it's in Navajo Nation territory. And so they kind of, they have people from the Navajo Nation that are man the different stations, and like they welcome you to that state when you walk, because you can just stand there. Like I did like a push up where I was in each of the 4 states, but then you walk around them.
So are you counting that you've been to all 4 of those states?
Exactly. I talked to somebody because I was asking.
No, I don't know.
So you don't count it. I count it because I was outside. Now technically, so of those 4 states, 2 of them I've been to beyond that. Like Colorado, I've been hiking, going around. Arizona. We tried to get to the Grand Canyon. We got there late, so I didn't actually. I was at the Grand Canyon, but it was dark, so I didn't see it. So, but I've been there. But yeah, Utah. I've only switched planes, but then also did the Four Corners. And then New Mexico, same thing, just the Four Corners. That's a place I'd like to go see, a little bit more. But yeah, because it's interesting about the day part of it, because like Wyoming, I'll tell you how I did Wyoming was in Colorado. My buddy and I just drove up to Cheyenne, got off the highway, went to the travel area or whatever, got some McDonald's and headed back. That's my Wyoming. That's how I've marked Wyoming off my list. So that's
no. I mean, to be fair, when I say I've done 33 states,
Yeah.
and that's what I've done, 33 states, 33 of the 50. I have at least eaten a meal, been in the state for at least 6 hours, and I would probably say in 99% of them, I've slept over.
Yeah.
I think the only ones, and I would have to recall the trip, but we drove from Vegas to New York in 2009, and I would have to remember where we slept, because, for example, I don't think we slept in Nebraska.
Yeah.
But we did stop and eat in Nebraska, and we did drive straight through the center of Nebraska. So I do kind of count Nebraska, because I was in there for like a good few hours. I ate there. We saw, a certain amount of the state or whatever. And then Illinois and Indiana and those ones, in the middle. But pretty much the same. We slept overnight 5 times. It took 4 times. It took 5 days to there. So we stayed in quite a few of them across, because there's only about 7 or 8 states.
Yeah.
So we, at least every other one we slept in, and we ate in all of them.
Yeah.
So I do count that Midwest corridor. And then subsequently I've been back to Chicago and stayed in Chicago for a few. So Illinois, I've definitely absolutely 100% done. Nebraska, Iowa, Indiana, those, Illinois, those ones. I've driven through, I've eaten in, and some I've slept in.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting the eating, because because I guess technically I haven't eaten. So I mean, like certain states, like Illinois, for example, Illinois I haven't stayed overnight, because I did an out and back trip there. So I've seen a baseball game. I've eaten. I did eat there for sure. But I haven't spent the night there. But I guess like
but a baseball game is eating, though. I think it's it's the same.
Well, no, I did eat. I did get
it's
a food
a sustained
there.
activity.
Yeah, I also got one of the Chicago dogs the last time I was there. I don't know what I'm going to get this time.
Oh yeah,
I'll see. I might go to Voodoo Donuts. They have a Voodoo Donuts there, so I'm a huge fan of them.
Do they have? So I don't know. They probably don't in Wrigley Field. I don't know, but in the White Sox Stadium, and I don't know the name of it. Matt, you'll have to fill us in.
It's some fugazi name. It's not a cool name. So it used to be Comiskey. That was what it was in the past, but now it's like rate field, guaranteed rate field, something fugazi like that. So
yeah. Now it's booking.com.
Right, exactly. It could be Travago Field. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It just keeps changing. Yeah.
Oh, it's so bad. It just makes me so unhappy. Even though Wrigley Field is technically
right, that's the thing, right? But it works.
It has a history, though.
Just like Comiskey, the old Comiskey. But it's like you look at the East Coast parks, right? The 3 best ones do not have naming rights, right? So Fenway, Yankee Stadium, Camden Yards. Those are the 3 best ones. I guess Nationals Park also doesn't. So, and it's not as great. So I guess I shouldn't say that rule's completely there, but it kind of works, right? Dodger Stadium is one of the best ones. It doesn't have naming. it's like don't. I mean, like you said, Wrigley Field technically was named for a company, but it's the better ones. I mean, the day that the Yankee Stadium, hopefully that never happens. With the Steinbrenners, you kind of with these younger Steinbrenners, you never know, but.
Well, it's almost like the Sears Tower. Isn't the Sears Tower something else now?
It is like Willis Tower or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No. It should just be the Sears Tower. And again, I understand that Sears is a company, but that's how we all called it.
Right.
They've done the same with fucking bridges in New York, right? The Triborough is not the Triborough anymore. The Tappan Zee is not the Tappan Zee Bridge anymore. But I refuse This is I don't understand, Matt.
Yeah.
I don't understand, and I'm gonna go. I've got one more Florida story.
Okay.
I will get back there,
Right.
but I don't know. I'm gonna go on a. This is a sidebar rant,
Right.
Matt.
No, it's good.
Sidebar rant.
It's good.
So the sidebar rant is, we went through a period, whether you are happy about it or not, where people were like, tear down that statue.
Yeah.
That statue is a terrible person now, and we shouldn't be honoring those people, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, it got a lot of people's backs up and blah, 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 blah. But everything gets people's backs up these days. So who cares about people's backs being up? Just leave your backs at home with people. Anyway, what I don't understand, though, is in the same period of time, while we've been tearing down statues, we've been naming or renaming bridges and parkways and things after people again, after politicians or presidents or presidents' relatives or whatever. We've been naming it after these, most often the sort of aristocracy of America, the kind of long-standing families that have been in certain areas for forever. And, you know, so everything's Cuomo and Kennedy and, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? And I'm sure there's a Clinton Parkway and, you know, whatever.
There is I think the airport in Arkansas even, but I think there's also a bridge named after Clinton as well in Arkansas. Yeah, Little Rock.
Yeah. And I just, to me, Matt, and we've already found this out with Cuomo and stuff, but like, to me, let's not be hasty to name shit after like people and companies.
Yeah.
Because if everything since the Me Too movement to the now fuck corporate movement, like everything in the last like 15 years, right, has pointed to all of this stuff being terrible. And if you didn't realize it was terrible 20 years ago, by now, after this last 15 years of like everything is terrible, you should know it's terrible. Like if you're at this point and you're like, I think companies are great and I think naming things after politicians is a grand idea, then you've learned nothing and I don't know what to tell you. Get out of my sight. I want no more part of your existence. However, we should all have learned that everything is terrible. Yeah. So don't go striding ahead to start naming things Cuomo this and Kennedy that and, you know, whatever. Like just, you know, Roosevelt this or whatever. Stop it. Just make stuff up. Yeah. Go to a 15-year-old and get one of their slang words and call the bridge, you know, splan.
Right, exactly.
That's what.
Well, in Philly, right? The streets are named after trees. That's perfectly fine. But then you get down south here, and they're named after former governors.
Well, except birch trees, because fuck birch trees. They're really no. I'm kidding.
Birch trees.
I believe birch trees are the most racist of all the trees. Exactly. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Right. We see what you mean. Like that's the whole point, right? Is it, you know, like there's nothing wrong, right? Trees, you know, Main Street. What's wrong with, you know, like, yeah, when did it, I mean, because Washington, right? Like Washington, it's, you know, I guess.
Well, yes. I mean, the founding fathers are a little different. I kind of understand that, sort of. I mean, again, awful people, slave owners, most of them.
Right.
But you know, listen, it's whatever. It's fine. That to some extent. Anything, I tell you what, anything that was fine, set in stone, and established like 20 years ago, fine. Yeah. But everything since then,
yeah, we know enough now to know we shouldn't be doing this. Yeah, it's, you know,
that's what I'm saying.
This is the best analogy for this is there's a sports radio guy in Boston that I listen to, Jim Murray. He's on a show called Felger Mass, but he has sleeves of tattoos. He's got tattoos all over him. And one of the hosts said to him, "Well, you must have like a Tom Brady tattoo." And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Well, do you have any players?" And he's like, "No, I wouldn't have any player tattoos." And he's like, "They're like, why wouldn't you get a player tattooed on your arm?" And he's like, "Because you never know what you're going to find out about that player after the fact. There's anything could come out about that person. They're human beings. They, you know, and the reality is that to become powerful, you generally have to step on some necks. You have to do some horrible things. You have to have some horrible traits. And, you know, it's kind of the reality that it's very seldom that somebody is just all around good, you know. There are very few Martin Luther Kings where it's just like, hey, it's just good, you know. He just, you know,
right. But even him, a notorious philanderer,
right? Exactly. So it's just you can't, yeah. So you know, I mean,
which again, I loved when they made the movie about him. They were like, well, we should definitely bring up the affairs, and I'm like, okay, yes, fine,
Right.
if you really want, but like the one person I don't think we need to be.
Right.
It's like, well, let's make sure we show Gandhi's bad side. Like, do we need like Gandhi occasionally could just shit in the street and leave it, never even cleaned it up. Like, we don't. Do you know what I mean?
Right. No, exactly. Yeah.
Like people who be like, "Wow, Mother Teresa was actually a real cunt," and you're like, "Okay, but." Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
the good far outweighs the bad,
Yeah.
and just because Martin Luther King liked to dip his wick doesn't,
Right.
discount everything good he did. Now, okay, it might come out that he murdered a few puppies or something. Fine.
Yeah.
So then everyone's going to play this podcast back and be like, "Oh well, look, he murdered puppies, and here you are sucking his." And I'm like, "Look, let's just slow down, everybody.
Right.
Let's just calm the fuck down."
Well, I think the dog murder thing. That's definitely that's definitely a reason to not be naming anything after it. Yeah,
that's a black mark.
That's a black.
All right, second Florida story.
Yes.
Florida story. So I was in one of these disastrous strip malls where you look around, you go, what's staggering about this strip mall is that it's not that it's filled with tweakers and homeless and whatever. It's not that it's like scummy in any way, visibly.
Yeah.
Right? Visibly, it's just a strip mall, but somehow there's a layer of scum over everything, and you can't quite explain how or why, because it's not like you look around, there's vagrants. It's not like it's not like Venice Beach when you go to Venice Beach and along with the Gold's Gym bronzed up weightlifters and the rollerbladers with a thong up their butt and fortune tellers and hippies and minstrels and whatever that line Venice pier and beach. There are also the vagrants and the displaced and so on who are hanging out because it's 72 degrees and lovely, right? So, and by the way, don't begrudge them. Do whatever you want. Like be happy, be in the sun. People are like, can you imagine it living in California? All the homeless people coming because it's great weather. Yeah, I can't imagine it. And like, I'd rather they're homeless.
Right.
Wouldn't you rather they at least be in some nice weather?
Yes,
No,
exactly.
I'm so miserable that if they ruin my nice weather by being in my nice weather,
Right.
yeah, because what you want is all homeless people to be in a frozen tundra, you know what I mean, having to shiver their way through the night, unhappy, unloved, and unhoused.
Yes.
But no, I'm happy for them to be littering the Venice boardwalk because it's sunny. Let them have some sun. Let them eat some cake. It's all good. Anyway, that's not my point. Cut back to the Florida thing. It's gray. It's overcast. It's Florida. It's a strip mall. It's covered in scum. I don't know why, but it is. And none of the stores in the strip mall are anything that you would ever need, ever. Like there's no. At one end there was a gas station. At the other end there was an auto shop. You would need those, right? But apart from that, all the other stores, I was like, oh, maybe one of these stores will have like something interesting. I go, nope, nothing.
It's amazing.
Less than interesting. So I was sat around and I was like, well, what am I doing? I was waiting for my client. She was going to be late. She'd already told me she was going to be late. So I was like, okay, fuck it. I'll go get a Wendy's breakfast, because everywhere else in the world, Matt, because there was a Wendy's, there was a Dunkin', and I really don't like Dunkin' food. I don't know why people like Dunkin' coffee, but I really don't like Dunkin' food. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then there was a Wendy's, and Wendy's is normally like out of McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Wendy's, certainly in the city in New York where I used to live, and although weirdly not out where I am now, so I should probably have learned from the fact that outside of the city, the Wendy's are no good. In the city, the Wendy's are very good. They're much better than McDonald's and Burger King in the city. The Wendy's are the better choice. Apparently, in the burbs, Matt, not so. I walked into this Wendy's and it was like walking into an open toilet. It was pretty terrible. But as I walked in, I held the door. Again, a man was coming out of the door, so I'm like, oh, I'll hold the door open, because that's what you do, Matt. That's a normal. You don't either let him open the door and it hit you in the face, or you hold the door closed so he can't get out. You don't do either of those two things, Matt. You open the door, let him traverse, and then in you go. And it's a beautiful thing, and everyone's much happier and much wiser and love each other. Well, as he came through the door, and I was like, oh, no, please, no. As he came through the door, just a regular guy with a beard. First of all, I think I said something like, open the door, and as he was walking past, I was like, have a good day, man, or something. Like, I think I did, maybe I initiated some kind of connection. But he was like, yeah, man. He suddenly, like, the eyes went wide, and the smile got big, and I was like, oh, I've woken up the beast. And he goes, yeah, man. And he, like, made a fist, and then went to, like, fist bump me, and I'm like, are we fist bumping over me opening a door for you? Oh, okay, fine. So I fist bump him, and then almost as an afterthought, but also as sort of a manic process in his head, he grabbed his own beard, right, like this, and went, and I went, you don't see many other people around here with beards, woohoo, and then, like, ran off. I'm not kidding, Matt. That's something that happened. I opened the door for him. I said, have a good day, man, or whatever. He went, yeah, man, fist bumped me, which was already awkward because I'm like, not the most natural of things. And also, I don't want to touch you. But I fist bumped him, and then he grabbed his own beard, his eyes open wide, and he went, you don't see many other people around here with beards. Woohoo! And ran off into the morning. I was perplexed because I think that very morning, Matt, I had seen at least 3 other people with beards. Right. So I was even confused about the statement. I'm like, I see people with beards all the time. This guy's wandering around being like, I'm the only one with hair on my face. When I meet another bearded gentleman, I will bump his fist and scare the bejesus out of him. Right. Then I walked in, and instead of, like, seeing what normally, again, Wendy's up here, even the inner city one, even the Brooklyn ones and whatever, are normally cleaner than McDonald's. McDonald's are normally the places that everyone goes to just take a shit when they can't get. That's why they had to give all the toilets at McDonald's combination. Right. Because people were just shitting. Like, just indiscriminately shitting. You ever been in one? Yes, I think we talked about it on another episode. Yeah, when we were talking about, like, the problem with, we're all for unisex bathrooms, but the problem is men are such fucking disasters in public toilets. Yeah, there's always that one cubicle that's just full with shit.
Oh, the big pyramid. Yes, the pyramid. Yeah.
The big pyramid. You're like, did people just keep squatting and shitting and then leaving? Like, what happened here?
Oh, whenever I go to Moynihan Penn, and there's two sets of there's the bathroom that's just everybody can use the bathroom, and then there's the ticketed passenger bathroom. And whenever I gamble and don't use the ticketed passenger bathroom, because you got to show your ticket and everything, you go through there, and it's like, if I want to get something or whatever. Whenever I do that, I regret that I gambled and did that. It never works out. Most of the time, it's like you go into that. One time I went to that urinal, that bathroom, and like, I noticed that one of the urinals was open. I was like, everybody's in line. Why is somebody, And so I go to it and realized there was a reason why. It was because the flush was busted and it was overflowing urine. Yeah. It was just like people had urinated and it was coming out onto the floor. And that's why nobody was using it. But McDonald's is another level.
Well, yeah, McDonald's in the cities, especially before they put the little codes in or whatever.
Yeah,
it's just
right. Yeah, you got to get the key. Yeah.
Oh no, but even before that, just when they were just open, and then Starbucks didn't learn, because Starbucks then became the vagrant's poop hole of choice.
Yes. Right. And there was Starbucks. De Blasio was just like using Starbucks as bathrooms. They were just like,
right. And they are just, they are the worst. You go into a Starbucks bathroom and you better have, like, oven mittens on
Yeah.
and like a hazmat suit. Because seriously, Starbucks toilets in the city. My God, you take your life in your hands, Matt, and your nose in your hands as well. So anyway, I go into this Wendy's, and as I said, normally the Wendy's in the city, much nicer. I go into this Wendy's, I immediately go, oh, I've made a terrible mistake.
I know,
like, what am I doing in a Wendy's in Florida? I asked myself at 9:15 on a Thursday morning. John, what life choices have led you to be in a Wendy's in Florida? But you're there now, and the guy behind there was a guy sweating and cursing behind the counter. I mean, this looked like a Wendy's map from 1973. I mean, this looked like a Wendy's that hadn't been cleaned in 43 years. This looked like a Wendy's. The guy behind the counter, it looked like it was steam powered. The guy behind the counter had he had a blue apron on, but he had like his shirt open. He was red and sweating. His hair was all over the place. And it was like he'd been shoveling coal into a steam engine at the back of this Wendy's that was shitting out bad breakfast burgers or whatever. So I was still like, what am I doing? He didn't pay me any mind, but he clocked me, but he didn't pay me any mind, and then he went off. Then a woman came out to the counter and stood behind the register, but stood behind the register considering there was no one else in the place. No one else. Because everyone else, as dumb as Floridians are, they all knew don't be in a Wendy's at 9:15 in that particular strip mall on a Thursday morning.
Right.
I didn't think that, Matt, and I was like, oh, I've made a terrible mistake. She managed to look out at the store, at the restaurant, and not see me. She managed to look through me. It was a skill, Matt. And I was standing there, and I even did the exaggerated comedic looking behind me thing. Like I was like, yep, there's no one behind me, so why are you not looking at me? So I was just like, fuck this. Okay, I would like a sausage and egg muffin, please, for breakfast. That was my breakfast choice, a sausage patty and a plastic egg in between two stale buns. And I said that, and without even, again, she didn't look at me the whole time, Matt. Didn't look at me the whole time or whatever. And she was just like, you want the side with that? And I was like, sure, I'll have the mini potatoes or whatever. Thinking they were hash browns. They weren't. They were just fries.
Yeah.
And they were awful and overly seasoned and terrible. And I threw them out. But I gave her my card. The whole exchange happened without any eye. And then she scurried away into the back to peel something off an old muffin and put it in the microwave for 30 seconds. It was, I mean, Matt, what was I doing? Well, I had my out. When the guy left to go to the back and before the woman came out, I should have said, fuck this and left.
Yeah.
But I didn't. My English politeness kicked in. When the woman came out, I thought, well, I better order something. Otherwise, these poor people will die. And no one will ever have known their name.
Yes. See, I've got the New England politeness does the same thing to me, where it's like like the Popeyes chicken around here, the smell of the chicken will draw, and it's like, and the moment I walk through those doors and go to get in line for that chicken sandwich that I just thought, oh, it's not a big deal, I'll just go in and get. I know immediately that I've committed to something that I had no business doing, and it's you just know it's bad. You know it's bad.
I have committed to something. Yeah. That I have no business doing that could be the story. That could be the name of my biography.
Right. Exactly. But I know what you mean though. You're just like, no, I'm here. I like you said, they've seen me. I can't just, the one time I did pull it off, the escape was, I went to the Wendy's around here actually. And, I was supposed to pick up a prescription for Jen and they were waiting for it to fill. So I went to the Wendy's. Actually, I tried the Burger King first and it was closed. For some reason, it was closed at 2 p.m. on a Sunday. And then the McDonald's, the kiosk things were busted. Yeah. And there was a guy and a family in line that just looked like a whole mess. I was like, all right, I'm getting out of here. So I went to the Wendy's. And
there was 14 children and 2 angry mothers because he had 2 wives for some reason. Yeah,
it was something. No, the guy had nothing to do with the family. They were separate orders that were. Oh, okay. And I was like, I can't order here, so I've got to go. So then I went to the Wendy's and I'm in line, and it was like this thing where there's this family, and I couldn't tell if they were in line ahead of me or not. So I let them go and realized that they had never been to Wendy's before and had no idea what they were ordering. And then Jen called and said, "Oh, the prescription's ready." I was like, "All right."
I'm out.
You know, it was one of those deals where that's probably the best way to escape is the phone, and like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, this means I got to, and then you leave.
Do you know what I should have done, Matt?
Something's come up.
If she had looked up and said,
Right.
"Sir, can I help?" Like if she'd instigated the thing.
Yeah.
A really funny way to have left would have been very calmly. You just go, "Sure, I'll have," and then run. You just like you go very calmly, just "I'll have," and then you go, and then just like run out of there. You're just like, "Bah." That would be great because she would be like, "What just happened?" And then she'd be telling that story for the rest of the day.
Yes.
She'll be telling that story for the rest of her life. She'll be like, "I was there one morning. There was a guy. There was a guy there. I asked what he wanted. He said very calmly, like an old, sure, I'll have the," and then his eyes went wide and he hightailed it out of the Wendy's. I don't know why or what happened, but that would be a great way. I might just do that. So one more thing, one more like thing that's happened recently that I want your take on very quickly, Matt.
Okay.
So that was my whole Wendy's story. But one more thing, because it's all about giving someone something to talk about that's actually funny and positive, right? And I've started thinking about different ways to like entertain other people, basically.
Right.
We were going to a party of relatively new friends of ours. We've known them for a while, but we've kind of and hung out a little bit. But they're new friends of ours. And this was the first time of us going to their home. And we were going with another couple who's also a friend of ours, Chris and Nikki. And we had got a text earlier from Erin, the woman who we were going to go hang out with. And she had said that she was prepping all this food and that they had all this booze and blah, 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 blah. And so Chris, Nikki, and I were stood around. We were like, what are we going to get? Like, we have to bring something, right? So Chris and Nikki decided they were going to bring some vegetables and hummus and something else, whatever. I think they brought some stuff, and it was all delightful and delicious. They decided to bring some stuff, and I was like, well, fuck, I don't want to go home and cook. What can I do? What can I do? And I went, I've got it. I'm going to bring a rotisserie chicken. Just in the plastic bag from the supermarket, just a rotisserie chicken. Right. And I thought to myself, because I win here either way, right? If I bring a rotisserie chicken and I pull it out the bag, one of two things will either happen. They'll either be like, a rotisserie chicken, that's fucking amazing. Why don't more people bring rotisserie chickens to parties? Because who doesn't fucking love a rotisserie chicken? I mean, it's the best thing ever. Like, why is that not a regular party thing? People are bringing me bottles of wine I'm never going to drink, and fucking desserts I'm never going to eat, and salads. People are being trade salads to fucking parties. Just unless you're going to eat the salad there at the party, it's the worst gift. I don't want it. But a rotisserie chicken, I mean, that's got to be the most genius thing to bring to a party. So I'm like, fine. I've convinced myself I'm going to bring a rotisserie chicken. I went, because if it doesn't go down well, if they pull it out the bag, right, and they're like, oh, thanks, a rotisserie chicken, right, and then they just put it away or whatever, I don't care, because I know how great rotisserie chicken is. I'll just fucking eat it while I'm at the party. Or, but also, they will then spend the rest of their lives going, we were starting a friendship with this guy, John, and then he brought a rotisserie chicken to our party. Who brings a rotisserie chicken to a party? That's the weirdest fucking thing. And then we kind of stopped seeing John after that. What a story to give those people. What a story to give the rest of their lives. So that's, I think, answers via email is rotisserie chicken. Should the rotisserie chicken be the new, oh, I brought you a cake? Wouldn't it be better to have, oh, I brought you a rotisserie chicken?
Yeah.
Because cakes, buns, baklava, whatever it is, enough with the, I brought a pie, I brought a babka, I brought whatever. Enough with that. Rotisserie chicken's where it's at. So answers in via email. Don't you think rotisserie chicken should be the new standard thing that you bring to parties? Because if everyone brought a rotisserie chicken, well then, Matt, that's a joyous time. We've all got a rotisserie chicken for ourselves. That would be amazing. Matt, I want to hear from the listeners. Don't you think it's a genius thing to bring to a party? Matt, what do you feel like? If I showed up on your doorstep with a rotisserie chicken, it's already a party. Am I right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, you got to check to see if they're vegetarians, right? Obviously, that's a big piece of it, right? Because they might not eat the rotisserie chicken. But
I just poured seltzer all down my t-shirt.
Sorry. But the other thing is, so I've been.
It's not your fault, dude. You're not even here.
I just so the Fantastic Four and Superman movies. They were playing early matinees at a movie theater that's near an Acme grocery store. And both times that I was walking, you have to walk past the Acme to get to the movie theater. And they're just cooking that day's rotisserie chickens. So you can smell the rotisserie chicken coming from outside. It is like a siren song. It's like, those cartoons where the waft of the air is like pulling you,
What if it was a cinema, Matt, that served rotisserie chicken?
I don't know why they don't. Because they just get it from across the street, like they just, it would be, they could kill it.
That, Matt, is what we call in the corporate world synergy.
Right. Oh, they make a killing. Yeah,
cinema and rotisserie chicken. Who doesn't love it? Everyone, please email us. I want to hear what are your opinions on rotisserie chicken. If I showed up at your door, right? You think maybe I'm coming over, maybe I'm not coming over, but I just show up at your door and I have a rotisserie chicken. Yeah. That's a happy day, right? That's a day that 20 years from now you're going to be like, my friend John once showed up at my door and had a rotisserie chicken with him. It was the greatest day ever. I think I'm on something, Matt.
Yeah.
So Matt, my friend Sydney does a lot of dog sitting.
Yeah.
And she just posted a video. She does really funny Instagram stories that I think she mainly just puts out there for only her friends to see. I think you can limit it to just your friends or something. Kim was telling me. I don't know. It all sounds newfangled and exciting to me. I didn't know that there were different. I didn't know there were different settings of stories. However, she just posted a story from her dog sitting house where they've set her aside like a tiny little like child's cot bed. It's not even a full bed. And she was like, I found the room that I think I'm sleeping in. This seems to be like the made up bed with towels on it or whatever. And as she's doing this Instagram story, she just zooms in and like right down behind the bed was like a rubber head. Like a rubber head, like a mannequin or a, practice hairdressing or practice makeup kind of rubber head, whatever.
Yeah,
rubber head with a, and it was a man's like rubber head, I think, with like a thick black wig on it, and it was just up to by the end of the bed, and I just said to her, I've seen horror movies that don't have that scary a reveal.
Right, exactly. That's awesome.
I was like, that was really disturbing.
Right.
Why would you, if you were having someone around your house, that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, exactly.
I would leave a rubber head in the bedroom.
Exactly.
And be like, see if they fucking stick this out.
Right.
You know what I mean? You leave like just weird like rubber body parts around the house to be discovered. Random leg in the fridge.
Right.
And talking about body parts and people invading your home.
Yes.
What a wonderful way to go from Sydney's story to two films we're going to be talking about on this episode, which are two films that I discovered recently. I actually discovered them ass backwards because I discovered the second one first, and then realized that there was a prequel, and then I watched the first one, and that is the Becky films. And because these films sort of one came out in 2020, and one came out in 2023, I believe. And I don't know, but to me, I feel like these have gone under the radar. I feel like they are not ones that I've seen a lot of other people talking about. Now, interestingly, doing a little research today and clicking around to try and find interviews and various other kind of behind-the-scenes stories that we could possibly talk about. Spoiler, Matt, there aren't any. Like, even the few interviews that there are, they're very just like, yeah, we filmed it in New Jersey and it was fun and everyone was great. And that's absolutely fine. But I was hoping to, like, for example, the sequel has different directors than the original, and I want to know why. And just Googling it doesn't bring anything up. So, and when you try and look for interviews, the interviews are great, and Lulu Wilson especially is like incredibly eloquent and phenomenal actor and so on, and very funny and into the movies and stuff. And there's lots of great interviews with her, but not in a way that kind of I wanted all of the answers. Anyway, there's Becky and the Wrath of Becky. Those are the two movies made in 2020 and 2023. They star Lulu Wilson as Becky. The first film then has its antagonist as Kevin James, and we'll get into how he ended up in that role. And then playing Becky's father is Joel McHale. And this sets up a trait that will hopefully carry through into potentially a third movie, which is casting usually comedic actors in either the serious emotional roles or in the villain roles. So they are, people have described them, I think, Matt, woefully incorrectly as sort of R-rated, gore-filled Home Alone movies for the new millennium kind of thing. I think Home Alone is as far from what these movies are. At no point is she like, I suppose in the first movie a little bit she's fashioning stuff from stuff you wouldn't normally hurt people with, but like it's not, there's nothing cute, quaint, or annoying or irritating or even comedic about either of these two films. So, Matt, let's start with 2020's Becky. Do you want to go ahead and give a synopsis of what's going on?
So Becky is a young lady. She's maybe like 15. Well, of course, it's one of these classic movies where we start with the end first, where she's talking to people in the aftermath.
Well, she's 13.
Oh, she's 13 in the. Oh, she's 13 there. Okay, so she okay, right. In real life, she was 15. So yeah, she's 13.
No, that's even weirder. Oh. In real life, she was also 13.
Oh,
she first read. Yes, it's one of the most assured and terrifying performances by someone of 13.
Wow, it's crazy. Yeah. So we find out that her mom had passed away, died a year before of cancer. Her dad, Joel McHale, picks her up from school. He's taking her out to this place that they have out in the woods. And first she's upset because she thinks he's trying to sell it. He says, no, I'm not going to sell this place. But he brings this new girlfriend and her son. And so there's all of this tension that's there. At the same time, Kevin James and a group of neo-Nazis in prison, they break out of prison. They make their way to this house in the woods because there's a key that's hidden there. And that key has, the key, potentially it means something valuable to Kevin James. It could be something extremely valuable. And so what happens with Becky, when she finds out that her mom or that her father is marrying this woman, she runs away. She runs out into this fort she has. And at that point, the neo-Nazis take over the house. They've got the dad, essentially they're trying to get her to come back with this key because she has it. They kill the dad, and now that's it. She has really nothing stopping her from taking out her rage on these guys. And so she goes into this fort, has all kinds of stationery that she fashions into weapons. But then, once she starts taking these guys out, she actually gets her, more legitimate weapons that she uses. It's a bloodbath from there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know what people mean when they say Home Alone, like, people invade their house and a child rather than an adult fends them off. Only this is the kind of gory, serious version. I actually think that, especially because the way this is filmed, and I really want to kind of get into the cinematography because it's beautiful. Yeah. It's such a beautiful movie, and it's a clever, intelligent movie as well, especially with the editing. And that's another reason why I really wanted to talk about this, because I was saying, as I clicked around looking for interviews earlier, I did find out that, for example, our friend Owen over at the Action Elite did interview the directors, Jonathan Millot and Carrie Murnion, from the first movie. People will know them also from the high school zombie movie with Rainn Wilson, Cooties, which was one of their first features. And so they had interviewed them around Becky, the action elite, and there had been a couple of other interviews with Lulu Wilson and the directors kind of floating around. But in general, an incredibly under talked about movie. And I really, really, really think that needs to change. I mean, I feel like the Becky franchise that I hope we at least get a trilogy. I really do feel that it should be considered not only by the younger generation today who are looking for their horror action trilogy, but also by us, middle agers who remember movies like this in the video store when we were younger that may not have had 13-year-olds in it, may have had 18, 19, 20-year-olds or whatever in it. But these kind of movies that are not only very cool, kick-ass, exciting, interesting, and tons of practical gore effects and everything else, but that are, formative and interesting and creative and different and just awesome. And I actually got, especially from the first movie, I actually got kind of mid to late 70s, more kind of shot in 16 mil horror, whether it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, whether it's Last House on the Left, whether it's I Spit on Your Grave, or even something earlier like The Virgin Spring that inspires Last House on the Left. Oh, look, he's dropping Bergman while he's talking about Beck. Oh, look at him. Oh, look at him bringing up The Virgin Spring. Oh, Max von Sydow. Anyway, I actually got that vibe because throughout Becky, it's in this sort of, it's not a cabin in the woods, it's a house in the woods, but it's of that ilk. And there are a lot of nature shots and a lot of pretty high exposed, fields of wheat and spiders making spider webs between trees and the deep, rich green forests. And whether it's Becky playing with her only kind of companion that she feels actually her only companion throughout the two movies, Diego the dog, at the beginning with the dog jumping in the lake and her sitting happily on the pontoon and sort of that hazy late spring, early summer kind of vibe, maybe late summer, early fall kind of vibe. Although, no, it's the trees are pretty green and rich. So I think it's more spring into summer. But all those kind of shots to me were more evocative of those 70s horrors. And in fact, the violence in this, while yes, as much owes a debt to 80s and 90s horror as it does 70s horror, it's brutal enough. There are scenes in it that you go, if I was 17 right now and watching this on VHS and it was 1985, this would feel transgressive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the first one in particular is a little more, a little hardcore for my taste. I mean, there's the eyeball scene. There's some stuff in there that's pretty rough. But to your point, it is beautifully shot. And the juxtaposition of how beautifully it's shot with the macabre nature of it, I thought was brilliantly done. I think the other thing is there's layers to this that, like, you talk about the Home Alone thing. John Hughes would not put the kind of layers that we get in here with, like, for example, Joel McHale's character, where he just does not really seem to get that his daughter, he doesn't get until he's just about to die, right? What his daughter's grieving process has been like. And you don't know if maybe there's a situation where maybe he and the wife who passed away weren't getting along as well, because I mean, a year to get engaged is not a long time after your spouse passes, especially a spouse that apparently he'd been with for over 10 years. He'd been with her for like 13 years. So there's stuff going on there that Becky is.
We also, in the flashbacks, to be very, something I noticed on a quick rewatch that I did, I sort of speed watched them this afternoon just to kind of remind myself. You never see him in the room with her and her mother. Yeah. Her bond with the mother seems a lot deeper than his bond. It doesn't mean that's not there, because we're seeing it through Becky's eyes. So she's just remembering the times that she had alone with her mother. But it does make you wonder. And what's really what I loved about when Becky started and the way Becky started is that the filmmakers are in no way judgmental of either party.
Right.
They're not judgmental of Becky being stroppy, aggressive, rebelling against her father, pocketing some jelly worms or whatever at the store, and things like that. They're not judgmental of it. They understand what she's going through. But likewise, they're not really judgmental of Joel McHale either. He's not painted as sort of a villainous father or an absentee father or an aggressive father. He's maybe a little bit selfish. He's maybe a little bit inward. Maybe his grieving process wasn't as complex as his daughter's, etc., etc. But in general, he's not a bad guy. Even the girlfriend and the son, her son, who show up, you can't have any judgment for them.
I disagree. I was nervous about I was worried like the stepmother, because she was already doing things like saying like, "Oh, you let her walk all over you." It's like, well, her mom died a year ago. What do you mean you let her walk all over you? Or like when the dad announces that they're getting married and Becky leaves and she's like, "Oh, I'll go talk to her." And it's like, what do you mean you'll go talk to her? Like it's that's
Right, but as someone who's sort of, so my mom didn't die,
Yeah.
but my parents divorced and remarried. As someone had sort of gone through that, the mother was the girlfriend was, to my mind, authentic, meaning I can with hindsight see what my stepmother or my stepfathers or whatever were thinking and trying to do at the time. Doesn't mean that it was easy for me at the time, and it doesn't mean that it's easy for Becky at the time. But I understand where she's coming from. There's also
I did not see enough like sympathy for what what Becky went through with her. I was like, man, I hope she doesn't end up with her at the end of this. And we find out the next movie she doesn't. The other thing I liked about what they did with the mother character.
Yeah, we are going to spoil this, guys. So please do watch it.
Exactly. Well, because I think one of the biggest spoilers I think is the end of the movie. I thought that there's so many. You talk about how well this is shot. And there's so many moments where you think that the mother character, the stepmother or the girlfriend, she's going to kind of step in and help Becky in certain moments, because a lot of times they'll shoot Kevin James from the back, where it's like it's that classic shot of somebody's going to get him from behind with a knife or something, and it never happens. I mean, yes, one of his own guys does, the big guy. But the mom never helps, like she's never a part of it, which I think really helped in making Becky, that like she's never.
Well, that's why they give her a son. They give her a son, right, so she's there to protect him.
Right.
The idea being that when there's a home invasion and a gun is both figuratively and literally put to Joel McHale's head, right, he is not thinking of the girlfriend, and he is not thinking of the girlfriend's son. Yeah. He is thinking of saving his daughter. Yeah. Period. End of whatever. So what ends up happening is sort of three groups are formed. You've got Becky, you've got the dad, and ultimately they would want to be together, but unfortunately they're not. Yeah. So you have Becky, the dad, and then you have the girlfriend and the son. And I don't think the girlfriend necessarily feels completely abandoned, right, but I think that there is a part of her that is like, well, if his duty was to my duty is to my son, and while sure I don't want to see Becky get killed, I'm also not going to necessarily go out of my way. Don't forget, like when she does first get let off by the big guy because he doesn't want to kill any more kids. Yeah. When he let off by the big guy and she goes running off into the woods, she doesn't go running off to find Becky, does she? She just goes running off to like, well, we'll get to a road and we'll get to a car and we'll call the police and they'll be fine and blah, 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 blah. Like, so and look, again, I can't judge her for that. I can't begrudge her for that. Like, we don't, like, she's been in these people's lives, like you say, under a year. And while, yes, she was ready to get married and play the role of mother and do various other things, which people might be, she's not ready to die for these people, right? And but that's interesting. To me, that's character. To me, that's a good script. To me, that's a good storyline. For me to be able to look at her actions and, yes, in a movie way, the person you care least about is her. Yes, in a movie way, like she's just the evil girlfriend who's going to become the evil stepmother and blah 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 blah. Blah. But in a human way, and in a and this movie drew me in so quickly with its setup that I was able to interact with these characters on a real human and emotional level, not just because Becky's issue with her dad and remarriage and stuff like that was one that had kind of played out in my life. But also just because of how well written it was and how well acted it was by everyone concerned. But also to the filmmaking point of view is that the brevity of story, getting me in there, like when you and I have talked many times about this 90-minute thing, you know what I mean? Get me in, get me out, entertain the fuck out of me for 90 minutes. It's not that hard. And this one's 1 hour 33. I think the other one is even less than that. I think it's like 85 minutes, 83 minutes. What is amazing about this is that the intercutting between Becky's school day, even as it's cut short, and then she goes off with her dad, and then meeting the girlfriend, and then the house news and the marriage, that is all intercut with and very cleverly and very like making comparisons between school and prison and other things like that with Kevin James's storyline, so that when they intersect, you know them and you know the family, and you don't need, I find nowadays with so-called elevated horror, they'll spend 75 minutes showing me the family,
right.
So that when the bad guys show up and I get maybe 20 minutes of action at the end of it, I'm meant to feel something for the family, instead of what I actually feel is that I'm bored out of my tiny little mind, right, and I can't wait for someone to decapitate someone else. The nice thing about Becky is that it already knows how to get me where I need. It knows that my first 20 minutes of this movie, I'm going to tell Kevin James's story. I'm going to tell Becky's story. I'm going to give you enough emotional fireworks on the Becky story, and I'm going to give you enough violence and grit and whatever on the Kevin James story, and you'll be ready to go. Like, you'll get the tone, you'll get the mood, you'll get the thing, you'll see where we're going with it, and then boom, Kevin James shows up. And it does the Hitchcock trick of, because you are aware of what Kevin James has done before, and because you are aware that the big brute that he carries around with him has been forced at his hand to kill children in a car that they could have stopped the next car coming along. They didn't have to stop a car with children in. But dressed as police, having broken out of prison, they stop a car. And the big fella is played by Robert, how do you pronounce it? Mayette?
Yeah.
Is it? Is he French?
I don't know. Yeah, because he's someone who's
French-Canadian, yes.
Yeah.
Robert Mayette.
I was going to say, because he's been in a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in one of the John Wicks, I think.
Right. And I think
he's the big guy that Robert Downey Jr. fights at the beginning of Sherlock Holmes, I think, right? Or one of the guys in Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And I think he was in Deadpool 2 is what he was in. I don't think he was in a John Wick. He was in Deadpool 2. That was it. Apart from that, the only other kind of notable stuff he's done is like Pacific Rim, Brick Mansions, things like that. Anyway, doesn't matter. He's an enormous giant of a man and has hands as big as Becky's face. And he's been forced to kill kids by Kevin James's ringleader, Nazi, because he's kind of, yes, he's a neo-Nazi, but he's also got that kind of Jim Jones thing of like, I've been collecting my flock kind of thing. Yeah. He forces some kids to be killed. So we're already aware by the time Kevin James knocks on the door that, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And even though we know that these two stories are going to converge, and even though we've been waiting for it, knowing what he's capable of, and indeed what his goons are capable of, is actually nothing compared to what they get up to at the Becky household.
Yeah.
And then the second and third act. The second act, I suppose, ends with her father dying, and then the third act is the revenge, right?
Yeah.
with a sort of coda at the end.
Yeah, and I think again, like you said, it's they set it up really well. I mean, I think the interplay between Becky. I mean, right away, like you said, Becky. Lulu Wilson is a fantastic actor, and
Phenomenal.
yeah,
One of the best kid actors I think I've ever seen.
yeah, and so immediately you're in the role, and I think Joel McHale is like kind of the perfect person to play the father. So again, like even just them being in the car, it works. And then the tension, and I think also too the tension when the daughter, when the girlfriend shows up at the same time that, like you said, we've got this sort of this Hitchcockian like menace of Kevin James showing up. And I mean, Kevin James, I think, is an interesting choice for this role. But he understood the mission, he understood the assignment, and he did exactly what he needed to do.
Well, he actually asked to step into the role. So originally, and this is even more interesting casting when you think about it, because you also think, well, why wasn't it Nick Frost?
Right.
But anyway, Kevin James was meant to play the dad.
Right.
And Simon Pegg was on the hook to play the villain. Because Simon Pegg really wanted to sort of do more and more kind of show his dark side kind of thing. And Simon Pegg had to drop out probably because Tom Cruise went, what do you mean you're doing a small film in New Jersey in the woods for 18 days? I'm about to back up a Brinks truck full of gold bullion at your house and buy you another cinema or whatever. And Simon Pegg was like, oh, yeah, shit, I should go off and do a Mission Impossible film. Or whatever happened. I don't know what the true story was, but he couldn't turn up and do it. So Kevin James actually was like, that was sort of the role I wanted to try. Would you mind kind of doing something like that? And when that happened, Kevin James is actually partially responsible for the whole casting, comedians as... I know they were going to cast Simon Pegg, but I always think of Simon Pegg as sort of an actor. And yes, he's a comedian, but, well, Kevin James is as well. I don't know what I'm talking about. They were always going to cast comedians as a villain, and instead Kevin James came and did it. And I have to say that Kevin James fucking hit it out of the park. He is absolutely fantastic in the role. He really is. I can't say he's like full-on menacing. I think they show enough of what he's capable of to make him menacing, but I don't get menacing from him. But what I do get is acting from him, and he's really, really good acting in this.
Yeah, and I think
he is doing really, really good acting in this, rather than just being he is really, really good acting in this, which doesn't make any sense at all and sounds grammatically incorrect. Matt, I've talked all over you. Go ahead.
No, well, because I think when we get to that moment, I mean, again, if this movie's darker, then I think I would be that I'm used to, or that I'm good with usually. But to go to go with the Home Alone piece of this, when Joel McHale is outside and Kevin James is torturing him with hot pokers to get Becky to run back there, that's a rough scene, and it's one that you've got to buy that Kevin James is going to do it, and you got to buy that Joel McHale is going to protect his daughter, right? And I think one of the things is that McHale almost has like this, his character has an epiphany as he's going through this. So like, hey, you know what? Maybe I rushed this whole thing because I didn't take my daughter's feelings into consideration enough with all this stuff, and now I'm just about I'm probably not going to survive this, and so it's time to kind of.
I mean, I also see him as a dad who's always loved his daughter.
Right.
He's always loved his daughter, because if there was any question about that, he would be shouting at her or like whatever, being a lot meaner to her. I think he's always loved her. Yeah. I just don't think he's always considered her.
Right, exactly.
I think that's the difference. Yeah. And I think that that's also to do with his grief, potentially. When I've seen grief of a father explored in previous movies, and again, very often to a point where they become selfish and withdrawn and try and find new love and other stuff like that to the detriment of the child. I think that this movie plays with a lot of the same themes. And in terms of Lulu Wilson, I was just thinking just then, Natalie Portman and Chloe Moretz are probably the only other two actors I can think of. Jodie Foster, of course, sorry. But it's all women. I mean, even look, as great as Corey Feldman was, and Macaulay Culkin, and Will Wheaton or whatever. They're not a patch on the women child actors I just mentioned. I mean, you throw Drew Barrymore in there, I guess, although that there isn't that much of her sort of at that age that really compares to Natalie Portman, Chloe Moretz, and Abigail Breslin, I guess. I mean, I'm just now thinking of like lots of great, but Lulu Wilson is right in there. I mean, there's and I think probably something like what we call Leon, but The Professional is probably the closest to this in terms of having a very young child in quite as much peril.
No, I agree. And I think it's like once the turn happens, and the turn happens when she sees Joel McHale get killed, and suddenly the whole reason that she was going to, actually, no, that's not it, right? That's not really what it is. What it is when she's in the fort, and one of the guys comes up, and he bargains with her, and he goes, "Yeah, I'll let your mom and your brother live," and she's like, well, "They're not my mom and my brother." And well, you'll live happily ever after. And she sees the painting that her mom did of her father, and their two dogs, and of their family, and realizes that that's gone. And the idea of it just like it kind of clicks with her, and that's when she snaps. And when she snaps, it's I don't know. Yes, within the kind of the fantastical nature of this movie. The when she snaps, they've built it up enough that like it works enough that
because again, what rewatching it, just speed rewatching it, she doesn't. So the guy you're talking about is the guy with the Lost in Translation t-shirt.
Yes.
If you remember in Lost in Translation, he buys a horrible orange and yellow camouflage shirt with a black ring on the black ring tee. Yeah. And turns it inside out so that it's not quite so horrible. Yeah. In this movie, the one of the lead bad guys wears that exact t-shirt. Yeah. I don't know if it's a reference to anything, but if you want to be weird about it, the Sofia Coppola, who made Lost in Translation, made a movie called The Virgin Suicides. And the movie that I said this felt like was Last House on the Left, which was a remake of The Virgin Spring. Connections abound, Matthew. Yes. Connections abound. I just like that I can make that. I can trace that circle. But no, you're right. So that happens, believe it or not, at about the 70-minute mark, about like that. So it's really only the last 20 minutes that she's avenging and revenging herself over everybody, And the big guy, I mean, she lets him go, and then it's
he lets her go because he doesn't want her to die because he doesn't want to kill her.
Right.
And then discovers, then he's supposed to be walking off, and then she's confronting Kevin James. He attacks Kevin James to keep Kevin James from killing her in the kind of the final thing. And then she runs Kevin James over with the lawnmower, and the top half of his face is completely ripped off. And he's like, okay, well, I didn't want him to kill you. I came to save you and all this stuff. And he's thinking like she's going to let him go. She just picks up the gun and boom, right between the eyes. Just plugs him.
Right. Yes. Yeah. She just kills him.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. As she should.
Exactly.
And all the while we have no idea what this key is.
Right.
And I want to keep bringing it back to the key because while the key in Becky 1 is a MacGuffin, because again, when did Kevin James place that in the house? Right. Why that house? Yeah. Did Kevin James once own that house? Like there's too many questions, you know what I mean? Yeah. But he did place it in the house and he's coming to get it. Like, I don't know. I would have placed it, in a hole in the woods so that it didn't matter that it was in the basement of someone's house. I could have just gone to the woods, dug it up and gone on with my life. But he didn't do that. Anyway, so we've got the key is the MacGuffin. Yeah. We have some, as I say, we have a great build-up, incredible acting, beautifully shot, and I think very well written. I think there's an interesting thing about the fact that Kevin James is a neo-Nazi, is that yes, we see him shiv a black guy in prison at the beginning, but then the girlfriend and the son. Kayla and Ty, I believe. Is it Ty, the little boy? Yeah. played by Amanda Brugel or Brugel, Amanda Brugel or Brugel, and Isaiah Rockcliffe. They are both black as well, or certainly not, not Caucasian. Put it that way. I don't know exactly what race either of them are, but they're not Caucasian. And there is, and I guess it would have been a bit old and cliche and awful and terrible if he'd just come in and been a big racist. But and I think it's probably even more menacing that he's not, making disgusting racial epithets or whatever at the couple on the couch. He makes a comment about the pure breed of his dog, that this dog that doesn't exist, but about Rottweilers and how not mixing breeds. He makes that comment. But in general, what is interesting about it, and I'm glad they didn't go there. By the way, I'm saying I'm glad they didn't go there because I didn't need them to. I mean, he's got SS and swastikas tattooed all over his head. Like, I don't need him to also be saying the N-word every other word. Right. This isn't a badly written Tarantino film. Right. But thank fuck. But it's menacing enough. He mentions a purebred dog, and the fact that he has all this stuff tattooed on him is so. I was glad they didn't go there, but I was also surprised they didn't go there because so many other shittier indie films would have gone there.
Yeah, no, because not only did they not go there, but the reveal, right, where they don't know that he's a neo-Nazi. Like they first invite him in because they think he's a nice guy, and then they realize he's not a nice guy. He's creeping them out, and that's when he pulls the gun on them and all that stuff. And even then, they don't know exactly who he is until he takes his hat off, and they can see the back of his head where he's got that big swastika on the back of his head, and it's like, oh, that's who this guy is. Like you said, a lesser movie, he would have been using the N-word all over the place. And this movie's like, no. And I wonder, too, so this is an interesting piece of it, too. Like, I think, the scriptwriter, they weren't going to go there. I do wonder, too, like, if you're Kevin James, too, if you're like, you know what, listen, do I need to say that? Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what, like you said, there's a scant amount of information about this movie, but it would be interesting to know, like, if maybe there were parts where they were going to have him use slurs, and he was just like, do I need to? But I think, to your point, this movie has a certain tone, and it's consistent tonally throughout that. I don't think that they were doing that. But to your point, you can do it without having the N-word bandied about like that. You can make it work without that.
And also, in general, considering how violent it is, the other thing I really liked about it is it wasn't swearing. So often, with a ton of these indie horror action movies that are they're all fine, but they're all like much of a muchness. They're all very similar. The one thing that you'll notice straight away, and it is completely a hangover from the fact that these guys, mostly guys, grew up watching and idolizing Tarantino, or even Kevin Smith. So fuck every other word or dropping the M-bomb or whatever it is, seems to be very prevalent. Like, I remember watching that. And I forget who. Is it a Joe Begos movie? I think it's a Joe Begos movie. He made VFW.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the sort of the giant robot killer Santa movie that was on Shudder. I'm going to forget what it is. But the beginning almost completely remakes the scene with Alabama and what's Christian Slater's name in True Romance?
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, his character and Patricia Arquette's character in the comic book store, when they're talking about like comic books and culture and life and everything like that, there's a scene at the beginning of this killer robot Santa movie that exists on Shudder, made by Joe Begos, that again was just two people in a record store, F every other word, S every other word, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, if it feels authentic to me, I'm fine with it. Yeah. Or if it feels like something like With Nell and I or something, if it feels poetic, I'm fine with it. If it feels like you're copying Tarantino, and I already don't like Tarantino, so the copy of Tarantino is going to be pretty terrible, then, and also we've seen it. We've seen it for 25 years. Like, don't give me that. And in fact, one of the things that almost threw me off the sequel, although I think it calms down, is the opening monologue and you know, the use of the word fuck a couple of times and some other stuff like that, that I was just like, that doesn't feel like Becky to me. That feels like, you know, you've seen a couple of Robert Rodriguez films or whatever, and you just want it to sound like that. But to wrap up the first movie, I know you said it was a bit much for you or whatever, but did you have any kind of like favorite violence, favorite deaths, favorite set pieces?
Yeah, I mean,
favorite action.
Favorite death is the big guy when she just plugs him between the eyes. That was, to me, that was the best one. I absolutely love that. I think so. I think the terms of things that are difficult in this movie, and I think it's, you know, like for example, there's violence against animals. So one of the dogs gets shot and killed. I think, you know, if you're gonna kill, if I'm gonna be upset about the dog being killed, you know, there's also kids that are get killed. You know, they don't show it on screen, but they are, you know, so it's like it's a rougher thing for me to see that. And then another point, the dog gets punched. The other dog, Diego, gets punched by the big guy. Fortunately, he's okay after, but that's always a little bit hard for me to watch. And then the eyeball sequence, that was hard to watch. But I think,
but like I say, I also think because of the 70s vibe to it, I think there's a need there to be a bit transgressive.
Oh yes, yeah.
And while I agree with you, the dog is a little overkill because we already have a reason to hate these people. I suppose it is within keeping with who they are as characters.
Yeah, it fits. I mean, the whole thing fits. I think there was nothing that felt out of place with all of it. I think, you know, just, you know, my own personal taste, it was a little bit rough, but it was.
Me too, completely.
You know, it fits with the movie, and I think. I just think but I think the number one thing beyond the deaths and the killing, I just love that you have this thing that's just beautifully shot, these beautiful locations and all of that you're juxtaposing with this, you know, this like insane ultra violence. And I loved that piece of it. I thought that this way, the same way that they were juxtaposing Kevin James in the prison while Becky's in school, and they were layering that. The way that they did that here, I just, again, to your point, you know, you get these elevated horror movies on Shudder and all of that stuff that are, you know, trying to, you know, reinvent the wheel or whatever. This movie gets it right. It gets it right in 90 minutes. And I think, you know, I think sometimes that's the most important thing is just, you know, you have a mission. This is what you want to do. Do you get it right? And they got it right. I think that's the most important thing.
Yes. And I just think that in the 70s especially, and early 80s, but by the time you get to the 80s, a lot of the slasher films are in schools or colleges or buildings or whatever. But when you think about sort of late 70s, so whether it's the ones I've already listed, Last House on the Left, and some of the more like spit on your grave, like more transgressive ones that even today are still considered like grimy and nasty and whatever. Or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But then you've also got movies like Halloween and the first Evil Dead. And to me, all these movies, the thing that all these movies have in common, Hills Have Eyes is probably another one as well, is their location, their use of location, and their use of nature as well. That even amongst, when I think of Evil Dead, yes, of course, you think of the cabin and you think of the horrible things that happen to Ash and whatever. But I also think of the constant presence of the woods and the leaves and the trail. It was there, it's not there, or whatever. This idea that nature can be both desecrated by man. So in a lot of the movies like Last House on the Left and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Becky, it is man's desecration and man's violence and humans desecration, humans violence and whatever that is placed in stark contrast to the beauty and the perceived safety or of the woods. But then there is also, because there is as a young kid, a menace to the woods. Things hide out in the woods and so on. So there are filmmakers like Sam Raimi and like The Hills Have Eyes use the kind of bleak canvas of sort of the Arizona desert and canyons and things like that to hide its monsters. Something like Wrong Turn is another great example. All these sort of natural horrors. Becky, I think, fits right in there very, very perfectly. When I think of Becky, as much as I think of the violence, I think of the shots of the high hay and the dappled sunlight and the trees and the lush forest and the animals that play in there and the spiders and the birds and things. I think of that stuff. I think of man encroaching on that and the violence that man brings with it. You know what I mean? And I think it just does that so well.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, even the nature parts, there's a lot of, sort of duality, or there's a lot of allegory or, analogy there. I mean, the spider, right? The spider is an easy one, right? The spider is, she's catching them in her web because it's two spiders, right? It's an adult and then it looks like a baby or a little one, that's kind of in the same web. And so there's that idea that she's got them in her web now, right? That they're about to get killed by the Black Widow or whatever. So the duality of it as well. All of it, I think it's a complete 90-minute package that does what it's supposed to do. And it all works in that sense, I think, for sure.
Yeah. And the relationship that she has with Diego is particularly lovely. Yeah. And I think it highlights her loneliness, and it highlights her it highlights both her survival, but also her not loneliness, yes, but her by herself, by her being both separated from the family, but also able to still have a part of the family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
There's still two beings from that painting that exist and will continue on, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's really important to her as we go into the sequel. So the reason why I sort of bring up Evil Dead as well is I think that as much as the first one is you really have to hunker down to get through it. There's a lot of violence that's squirm-inducing or, fear-inducing or anger-inducing, whatever it is. In the first one, similarly to Evil Dead, it's grainy. It's, it's got that 16mm vibe. It's got that, photography in it where you're like, I don't quite know whether this is really happening or if it's a movie kind of thing. It's got a lot of that Evil Dead vibe in the first one. It's really tough. The second one, I think, is far more the Evil Dead 2 of the trilogy. And in fact, once we get to the end of the second one, I think they're setting it up for a more Army of Darkness style trilogy closer. And I don't mean time traveling, but I think the third one's probably going to have more comedy in it. I think the third one's probably going to elevate her to be more wisecracky, more kind of a traditional hero or a play on a traditional anti-hero. Whereas the second one, we still find her as a very broken, if not more committed and more teenage, definitely more identifiably teenage young woman in this. So do you want to give us a lowdown of the sequel, The Wrath of Becky?
So in the sequel, Becky has kind of been bouncing from foster home to foster home, but also kind of running away. Sort of living this life on the margins with her dog Diego. An older lady picks her up as a hitchhiker, brings her to her house, and they kind of live together. She gets a job working as a waiter at a local diner, and pays rent to this woman, but they spend their time playing crossword puzzles, stuff like that. Anyway, there's a white nationalist group called the Noblemen who are also in town. Actor. I want to say, is it David Thoreau? But he does a lot of the Randall Scandal movies. Anyway, he and a group of guys that are going to meet Sean William Scott.
So Noblemen, it's the Proud Boys.
Right, it's the Proud Boys.
So
exactly,
they're also like sexist as well. They hate women as well.
Yeah, and so Becky's listening to them say all kinds of ridiculous stuff, and she as she's bringing the coffee to them, she dumps the coffee on let me make sure I get the name right here. It's Michael Thoreau. Because he comes up a lot when we do the Randall Scandal movies. He's just in the Bruce Willis movies, those kind of things. He's in a ton of them. But anyway, he wants revenge on her, so he follows her he and the other two guys, they follow her back to her house. They are trying. They plan to rough her up. That's the plan, is to rough her up. But then the lady that she's staying with comes down with a shotgun, tells them to leave. Michael Cera shoots the lady, kills her, and then takes the dog. She actually ends up knocking Becky out and then taking the dog. Well, now she's on the warpath. She wants her dog back. Now, this crew is run by Sean William Scott. So she shows up. She kind of kills Michael Cera in really fantastic fashion, and essentially lays siege to them and picks them off. And so it's another fun romp with her. And then of course we find out a little bit more about the key as well in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. So it's worth to point out that the woman she's been picked up with at the beginning is someone who sort of does this from time to time, picks up strays and looks after them and so on and so forth, while also allowing Becky to stay out of the foster system, which we find her in at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. And in fact, the movie has the movie has more of a sense of humor. And I think the Evil Dead 1 to Evil Dead 2 comparison is very good, because I really do think when you think of Evil Dead 2, yeah, it's still a horror movie. Yeah. It's still brutal. It's still got stuff in it that's crazy. And scary and weird and wonderful, but it's a goofy romp at the same time. Yes. And I think Wrath of Becky, this is a movie that by the time she's, as you say, laying siege to this house of Proud Boys, she's now got a costume. Yeah. She's got a weapon of choice. She's got, her name patch from her diner uniform has now been stitched across the thing. And the two filmmakers who made this, Matt Angel and Suzanne Coote, very much, even in the interviews, talk about how this was very specific, based on, they used Guy Ritchie as a reference, they used Edgar Wright as a reference, they used Robert Rodriguez as a reference. This was meant to be, in design, more stylized and more comic booky than the previous one, because they talked about sort of great sequels. Now, I never heard them mention Evil Dead 2, but they talked about how great sequels would often take what worked in the first one and not fuck it up, but then add a layer of zhuzh, let's say, add a layer of like bolstering up all of the things that worked in the first one, while sort of also playing it a little bit for entertainment and laughs and weirdness and whatever. It also introduces a trope that is not in the first movie, which is Becky also has an active imagination now, now that she's sort of tasted violence, because there is a question at the end of the first one, like, well, what do we do with her now? It's not that she... it's not the violence she's seen that we're worried about. It's the violence that she's done. But we now know that, for example, when a customer is annoying her at the coffee shop, she dreams of like smashing their head in, right. Or, and actually when she pours coffee on the guy, I think there's a couple of fantasies, and then that's the first thing that she really does. Yeah. And it makes you go, well, we know this about Becky. We know that inside her head, as people annoy her, or as the guy at the counter was sweethearting her to death. And I forget what the other fantasy is she has, but she has another fantasy at the beginning. And it lets us know, oh, no, she's just waiting to go off. Yeah. And the fact that these guys are there, and again, I think while they are, yes, obviously white nationalists and considered terrorists, in fact, the radio even calls them a terrorist organization within the U.S. The main, again, they veer away from any overt bigotry and instead kind of highlight their sexism, their and their weak, fragile masculinity, but their sexism and their dislike and hatred of women.
I think the tone of this one worked better for me. It still has some disturbing moments, but there's definitely a more like horror comedy vibe to the disturbing moments in this versus the other one was more, like you said, more of that 70s grindhouse vibe to them.
Although in the first one she still kills a guy with an outboard motor on the back of a boat.
Yes.
That's a little bit far-fetched and a little bit more Evil Dead 2 than Evil Dead 1. But you're right. In general, Becky, the first one, is it's more believable and definitely grittier.
Yeah, I mean, because some of the stuff that happens with this that I didn't like was that like she's dodging bullets essentially, and it's like, it's like in the PM entertainment world when we watch PM entertainment films, like that fits in the PM entertainment world. In this world, I kind of felt like you'd set up a certain world that her dodging shotgun blasts is kind of a bit much. Like, and again, it's like kind of thing. It's not I don't know.
Well, she dodges the bullets of Kevin James when she runs away and Kevin James fires into the woods. I mean, his bullet like hits a tree and whatever. Yeah. She doesn't she's not gymnastically dodging.
Right. Yeah, because this one it seemed like she was like the shotgun guys there. She's kind of darting around and stuff like that, which is I don't know. It's definitely more like PM. Like the.
Well, we do get a Meet Becky 2.0 montage at the beginning with her. Doing an assault course, learning how to throw knives, trying to like hack away at the bark. She's doing gymnastics. She's climbing ropes. So she's building traps in the woods, which would come in. So the filmmakers do, again, with a wonderful brevity of storytelling. They're like, it's not even a full 3-minute montage. It's like a 30-second montage and we're off to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's just to say in the, previous 2 years, because this takes place, it was made 3 years after, but it takes place 2 years after. So in this one, I think she was 16 when they made it, but is playing 15.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I think I liked about this, I think, is this clear message that violence begets violence, right? Because, for example, we want to see Becky dump the coffee on the Proud Boys guy. But when she does that, she sets in motion them coming to her place to attack her. Now, so the first thing is she could have just left them, right? She could have just given them their coffee, just in her head thought, okay, these guys are ridiculous, but let them go. Like kind of how I am. If I'm hearing some obnoxious guy talking about 5G poisoning or something at 7-Eleven, I just let him go, right? I just kind of ignore him. Just buy whatever you're buying in front of me, whatever, right? Right?
5G poisoning exactly. At the 7-Eleven. Exactly. Oh, Matt, you do have a way with words.
Yes, so she and starts it in a way. But then they go to her place, and not only do they kill the woman that was taking care of her, but they kidnap the dog. So that kind of starts it, and so then. When they get to the place, when she gets to the place and she's threatening them, before she even does anything, right? Before she even does any kind of act of violence, she's just calling them on the phone and kind of, threatening them a little bit or just kind of being creepy on the phone. Sean William Scott's like, give her the dog back. I don't understand what's so hard about this. And for some reason, he lets Michael Cera go out to see her without the dog, to act like he's going to knowing full well that he's probably going to try to hurt her in some way. And of course that doesn't go well for him. And now they've still got the dog. And so then she blows up his head, right? She puts a grenade in his mouth, ties it to the door. So when Sean William Scott opens the door, suddenly, boom, he blows up. So now they want to, and instead of them saying boy, you know what? But I guess at that point, they probably realized too, that there's no way they're getting out of there alive, unless they fight back, but I just love that sort of that chain of events where, if she had left them alone, they probably wouldn't have come to her house to harass her. If, they had just accepted the fact that she dumped coffee on them and just left it, that she wouldn't have come after them, and it's sort of that the way that.
But you also get the feeling in this one that, and I think this is the intention, because she keeps having these fantasies early on in the movie. And even later in the movie, like when she fantasizes about killing Courtney Gaines, and then in the end has to, she fantasizes running him over with a huge threshing machine, and instead has to. She goes, unfortunately, I can't do that, but this will work. And then she just hacks him up with a machete. Yeah. But that's again more personal and more visceral, and she kind of has to really physically do that rather than the big threshing machine. But these. This imagination, these visions she's having, these wish fulfillments or whatever that she's having in her head, tell us that this movie, while of course, the movie buying audience is lining up for her to take down the Proud Boys. If you think about what she does, is as you're saying, she instigates it. And when it escalates by their hand, which I almost think she knows it's going to, when it escalates by their hand, she's ready. I mean, this is what she's been waiting for. Oh, they're terrible human beings and they killed my friend. Oh, fantastic. Now I can go murder them in the most brutal of ways, and everyone's with me because they're terrible people and they murdered my friend. So it's you know, and I want to go back to the brevity of storytelling about her friend, as I said, who picks people up in a car and I think takes them home, whatever. They have this ritual where every day they try and sort of say what they're thankful for, rather than just doing it at Thanksgiving. They try and do it together with everyone, and it's together with just the two of them and the dog and everything else. And it again, the brevity of storytelling, being able to be like, all we need is one scene to establish why Becky, after everything that happened in the first movie, would pick this woman to be with rather than the handful of foster homes she's run away from. You learn everything you need to in that scene. And then there's a little bit more of a scene in the evening in the living room as well, when they're listening to the radio state. There's a little, but you get what, 2 scenes, scene and a half, whatever you want to call it. That's all I need. I now, having seen the first movie, you have to see the first movie to understand kind of who Becky is. But if you've seen the first movie and you understand kind of what's important to her and what she considers, you know, noble or interesting or honest or whatever, that you see why this woman means so much to her from the 2 scenes in the movie. So it's very well written. There's brevity of storytelling, and if you're watching them back to back, which I would strongly suggest you do, you get there before even the movie's ready for you to get there. Because like I say, at 83 minutes or whatever, this is at a clip. It really is at a clip. And so, but again, when we meet the Proud Boys in there, and Sean William Scott and Courtney Gaines, and we sort of round out this little cell of bigots and misogynists who are plotting to murder a senator.
Yes, woman senator in there. Yeah, from their state.
Female senator. Yeah, a female and Hispanic senator.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So they're planning on murdering her. And what's really interesting is that, you know, you get Courtney Gaines, which is great because he's like the old hand. He's like the hillbilly racist. Right, his family have been racist. Also, he's so white that he's ginger. Right, you know what I mean? Like he's he's like the whitest of white hillbillies. Right, exactly. Courtney Gaines, I love, by the way. I'm wearing my Burbs t-shirt today. Courtney Gaines, fantastic in the Burbs.
Yes, yeah.
It came with the frame. And then the obviously Children of the Corn, Courtney Gaines. Hey, Pinocchio, where you going? Sorry, I'm just now going to quote the Burbs for the rest of the podcast.
Such a great movie, though. Such a great movie.
It's so good. Yeah. About a 9 on the tension scale there, Rube. Yeah. Yes. I was in the house all day. Anyway, sorry. I'm going to stop quoting Burbs. We haven't got that kind of time, Carol. So, Courtney Gaines is playing the old hillbilly racist, and I love that they have him there. I don't understand why someone clearly as calculating and even-tempered, surprisingly, as Sean William Scott would have Courtney Gaines lying around. Right. But okay. So we get the banjo-playing hillbilly inbred, dyed-in-the-wool racist. We get the, I think the guy who is a real true believer, but a bit of a knucklehead. That is that Michael Cera?
No, so Michael Cera is the one she dumps the coffee on. The one whose head blows up with the grenade. So yeah, and again, I'm not sure why this. He just I don't know if he knew Randall Emmett. I'm not sure exactly, but he's in so many of those, you know, Randall Emmett produced or Emmett for Oasis produced movies.
Right. So who is the guy? Is it Aaron Dallavia?
I think so. Who's the
Yes. So he's the true believer. He's like the true nasty piece of work, but he's also a coward and a buffoon.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's Aaron.
Yeah. So he's a coward and a buffoon. We get, as you say, Michael Cera, who I don't know. You get that he's, I don't know, in it for the violence a little bit, but not necessarily. I don't know how much Michael Cera's character really gives a shit either way. He's just looking for a group where he can crack some skulls.
Exactly.
I think.
Yeah.
And then we get played by the director, Matt Angel, or Matt Angle, maybe I don't know. We get Sean, who is I hate women, but I don't know how down I am with murdering people or whatever. He's sort of a have a go misogynist. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's a hobbyist. He's not in it for the long haul. Yeah. So it's a nice sort of group of people that they put together, and we do get. What's interesting is I guess because we already know our protagonist, we spend more time with our antagonists in this movie because there isn't a dad, there isn't a girlfriend, there isn't a son. It's just Becky, and we already know who she is because within 20 minutes she's donned a red jumpsuit, stitched her name to it, has got herself a crossbow and a Bowie knife strapped to her thigh, and she's off with her dog to wreak bloody vengeance. She's off to get her dog and wreak bloody vengeance. We already know what she's up to. Yeah. It's not about her. So we get to really spend some time. And there's some wonderful scenes which really give Sean William Scott a chance to do that kind of quiet, calm, me not bothered, sort of almost Hans Gruber-like bad guy.
Yeah, and he's great at that. I mean, so there's that sequence that is, again, going back to the Hitchcock kind of thing, where Becky breaks into the house. She gets in through an open window. She's looking around at things, and she realizes what their plan is and all of that. And then they, Sean William Scott is taking the guy, the guy who's playing the director, who's like kind of just the hobbyist or whatever. He brings him into the room because he wants to convince him. And he tells this big, long story about when he was in Iraq, I think, or Afghanistan. And he, they were ambushed. And one of the guys in his group, a guy named Tootsie, because he liked Tootsie Roll Pops, he was shot. And he wouldn't stop screaming. And he was going to alert the enemy to their presence. So Sean William Scott had to kill him. And essentially he's saying, if you're a weak link, we're going to have to kill you. But it's tense because she's under the futon that they're sitting on the entire time listening to this. And so, it again, like you said, it's this movie that's like 83 minutes long. And so this is a scene that should be, him telling this story to this other guy, this should be filler, right? This should be the kind of thing that's just like, when you watch a movie like this, like you were talking about with those, the elevated horror, A24 horror movie, Shut or whatever, where you're just like, you just blew 20 minutes on this or whatever, 10 minutes on this, and you didn't need to. They take that 10 minutes of him telling a story and add this layer of tension to it that most movies don't do properly. And then not only that, he leaves and she steals this thumb drive that has every person that's in that group on the list, and you're almost wondering, like, is she going to go? Is there going to be like a montage at the end of this where she's just bumping them off? It was such a fantastic.
No, that's part 3.
Exactly. But again, it's just all of these pieces that come together. Sean William Scott is doing a fantastic job as the actor. The director of the film is sitting there, a perfect job as like us, as the conduit who's getting this information from Sean William Scott. The director, the cinematographer, they've got everything framed perfectly, and our hero is hiding underneath there, and we're worried that she's going to get seen. It's just such a fantastic scene. And like you said, Sean William Scott does such a great job.
Sean William Scott is fantastic. And like you say, there isn't any fat on this movie. Like, there isn't a scene you would cut. Every single scene, much like the first one. I mean, yes, okay, the first one, I don't know, hangs around in the woods a bit and is a little bit poetic and photographic when it wants to be. And if you trimmed those out and just kept whatever, it would probably be about 83 minutes, right? But I like that the first one does that, but I also like that the second one gets to it. And I think it's really interesting because as you're getting deeper into the story of Becky, but the movies are almost getting shallower each time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a really interesting way, because there is so much in this movie that you could focus on her psychology.
Yeah.
Her psychology is not good. We get it. It's a movie. These are the bad guys. She's the good guy. She's put on her superhero costume and she's going to go and avenge people. Great.
Yeah.
Fine. I understand.
Yeah.
But when you think about her real psychology, which if you've watched the first movie, it's very much about her real psychology, good or bad. Even the ending is about like, well, what do we do with her now? This one ends, on the other hand, where her superhero status is now government funded.
Yes, right, exactly. Yes.
And so, but what's interesting is we get a couple of things here. So we get the thumb drive, which is the MacGuffin of the movie and kind of gives her the upper hand. But when she is caught momentarily by Sean William Scott, and who turns out to be his mother, played by Jill Larson, a wonderful cigarette smoking hag while she has oxygen in, which is fantastic. Played excellently by Jill Larson. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
When she's momentarily tied up and they have a bit of confrontation with her, and so on, you also then find out that Sean William Scott has found the key and is intrigued. So while he wasn't aware of the key and the coordinates that are within the key mean nothing to him, he is going to find out all about the key. Well, not so quickly, because Becky's about to come back from having been tied to a chair and about to kick ass and take names and save her dog and run into the loving arms of the CIA, who say, hey, would you be willing to take down all these cells by being the youngest ever agent we've ever seen? And secondly, are you ready to find out what this key is?
Yeah. And I love her answer when they ask her the first one, do you want to be, she's like, fine.
Fine, yeah.
It was like, no, I need a yes or no answer. Yes. Okay, yes. Yeah. But I just like, yes, fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But wonderful. And also the ending, again, the ending you want. Like, when you've sat through Evil Dead 1, you're okay with the ambiguous ending, right? You don't know, is Ash dead? Is he alive? You presume he's dead. You presume the evil spirits have won, and you presume that like the world will never be the same again. It's the downer 70s ending. Yeah. Everyone dies, right? But by Evil Dead 2, if Evil Dead 2 ended on a down note, you'd be like, fuck this franchise.
Yes.
But because Evil Dead 2 ends with him with a chainsaw hand and a shotgun blowing a deadite off in the Middle Ages, you're like, oh, fuck, I want a third one. And it's similar with this. She gets the list, she gets the key, the government are going to fund her shit. And we're, at this point, having sat through the two movies and the tone slowly changing from grimy, gritty 70s through popcorn 80s, we're about to kick into mad 90s. And I really hope that that's the way that the filmmakers go with it. It feels like it is. It feels like they're kind of trying to take the trajectory of John Wick and the Fast and Furious franchise and just like blow that shit up.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with the next one, because I mean, to your point about blow shit up, right? She finds the one guy, the true believer kind of guy. He escapes. Essentially, Chung Scott says go out there and get her, and he hops in his car and drives off and is like, fuck this, I'm out of here. Later on, we see him with a shirt that says my pronouns are patriot. So you're just like, it's like if you couldn't hate that guy more, right? It's just like, is he smarmy enough? And she shows up in this, like, with her sneakers with the yellow laces, but the rest of it is like the CIA suit, and she's got a rocket launcher and she blows up his truck. And so you're just like, okay, what do we got for number 3? Because it was a beautiful way to end that.
Yeah, I mean, number 3, she now has all the weapons, is government funded, and has a list of every fucker on the planet who's part of these Proud Boys, and we get to find out what the key is. Or they keep the key going and there's a part 4. Like, who knows?
Right.
Maybe part 4 is the key. Maybe this is more the Transfers franchise, and we're going to go. Maybe we do go back to the Middle Ages in part 4 and 5, as Jack Death does, and maybe we're trying to get the what is it in it's the Time Diamond, which I believe they call the Timond,
right?
Which I love.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, right? I mean, because I think if this movie follows the trends of the first two, if a third one that if they make a third one, if it follows the trends of the first two, you know, they're movies that, like you said, they kind of get in, get out. They're quick to the point. They don't get too long. I think that's the biggest fear. I mean, it was one of the things that happened with John Wick, and I know with John Wick, the fourth movie was supposed to be a fourth and a fifth movie, and they had to combine them, and that's why we get such a long movie for that fourth one. But I'm hoping they stick with this 90-minute format. I'm hoping they stick with this sort of layered approach to scene building and storytelling, because I think it works really well here. And I think, you know, as big as we want to go for a big night, I mean, PM went big all the time, and their movies were 90 minutes. So the blueprint is there for them if they want to make a movie like that.
Yeah, and I think my only thing is that I don't know that I want it to be the directors of part 2 to do part 3. I'd like to see. I mean, I would love like Guy Ritchie to be like, I'll make part 3.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That would be fucking amazing. Like Guy Ritchie when he's firing on all cylinders. Guy Ritchie from the Tales of Ungentlemanly Warfare or whatever that is. That was such the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. That was just such a romp. It was such a romp. Like if you had Guy Ritchie do Becky 3 in the style of the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, I would be very, very happy. Matt, who would you like to see in this hypothetical world direct a part 3? It could be anybody.
Well, I mean, you know, we're going on a budget, right? Jesse V. Johnson on a budget could really do something like this. You know.
Oh, no. You have just called it. Yeah. You have just called it. That is why you're Matt Perea. That is why you're the DTVC legend, my friend. No, Jesse V. Johnson making a third Becky. Yeah. Now I'm excited. Tell me more, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously he does the stunt coordinator. I mean, because there's some stunt coordinators. I mean, like Spiro Rosatos, Cole S. McKay, who are still working, who I think could do some really great stuff. But I think Jesse V. Johnson, I think he does most of it himself, because he's a stunt coordinator. You know, he's the stunt coordinator himself. But yeah, I mean, I think Jesse V. Johnson, he's done this kind of thing with Olga Kurylenko before. He knows how to make this movie. I just think, you know, give him a little bit more of a budget, right? Because these movies have a little bit more of a budget than what Jesse V. Johnson works with. And and just pull out his cadre of actors that it would be interesting to see, like, if he pulls out his cadre of actors to be some of these people, like a John Malkovich or somebody.
So here's my thing. And someone else has said this online as well, so I'm glad other people are thinking it, because maybe it'll happen. But for example, Simon Pegg was meant to be in the first one, couldn't do it. Well, the Mission Impossible movies are over now, and I know he's writing something with Edgar Wright, and we might get a fourth film from the Edgar Wright, Nick Frost, Simon Pegg trio, which would be great. I love those movies. They're the only Edgar Wright movies I like. But I would love to see if you're doing a whole long list of Proud Boys, well. And essentially probably working up towards like a big boss, right? That's probably going to be the sort of kind of a Kill Bill, right? You're going to kind of go from like all the hench people to a big boss, right? The big boss should be Simon Pegg. That they should bring that back in. But then think of all the comedic actors you would love to see do really terrible villain roles. Think of all of those that you would cast as these Proud Boys, because essentially you could say Becky goes after 10, Becky goes after 50, Becky, like you could have cameo central.
Patton Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt would be
just blow Patton Oswalt up. I think it'd just be hilarious. You know, Conan O'Brien, right? Could you behead him or decapitated or something?
Conan O'Brien would be great. But you could also, if you want to stick with the Kevin James thing, you could do all of the people who normally work with Adam Sandler. So you could do David Spade gets blown up, Schneider gets blown. Come on, you want to watch? I love Adam Sandler, but like you want to see fucking Schneider and Spade and fucking just eat one in a movie. That would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
So you could have all of the Alan Culver could show up. Yes. You could have the guys from the States. So you could have Joe Latrulio, Michael Ian Black.
Yes. Oh, the whole State crew. Oh.
They would be great. Ken Marino would be a great neo-Nazi Proud Boy fuck. Yeah, he would be great at that. Yeah. So I think you could really go far out with the casting.
Yeah. Well, and I love the idea of a lot of those actors being Jewish too, right? That like it just makes it even better. Like Michael Ian Black, all of those guys. Yeah, I think I think it's perfect. I think it's such a great idea. I think they should start calling those.
But I'm with you. I'd also love to see like Scott Adkins as the big bad guy.
Yes.
Like, if Jesse V. Johnson is directing it, let's get Scott as the big bad. Yeah. But maybe Scott is like Simon Pegg's henchman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe Scott doesn't want to do that anymore. But like, I don't know. That would be. I
think he'd be great.
The guy from Office Space, who's in that show on Amazon Prime about the grumpy guy.
Ron Livingston.
I love him. Ron Livingston. Yes. Ron Livingston would be great.
You know what I would love?
He'd be great.
You know what I would love is there's a Family Guy bit where they talk about how Ron Livingston's parents don't know who he is. So it's like they're like, our son is that guy. You know who I'm talking about? He was in that Office Space movie, and he did. And they're like, wait, your son's Ron Livingston? Yes, that's him. That's who he is. That's what I said. It would be great if she did the same thing. She was like, wait, are you this guy? No, I'm not him. Yeah. She's like, like listening. I don't know. Yeah, something like that would be. I mean.
Ron Livingston and Diedrich Bader could be So, I mean, I just think we open the door to a fantastic part 3. And writers, if you're having trouble putting together a storyline and picking a director, we've got one for you, and we've got a director for you. Yeah. You basically remake Kill Bill, only better. Yeah. And you fill it full of comedians doing amazing turns as like really dark.
Yeah.
Neo-Nazis, and you essentially also take on potentially Trump.
Yeah.
Like you could potentially be taking on MAGAism.
Yeah.
I mean,
kind
of.
Right.
It could escalate to that.
Right. You could have a stand-in president for him if they need to. Do it that way.
What if they redo the insurrection and she's like one of the officers on duty at the Capitol or something?
Right, she's just like killing people that are
Well, no, and her friend who's also an officer gets killed.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, she's still a CIA agent,
right?
But her friend, who she's made through numerous police and CIA, interactions or whatever, because let's say she's been on, by the time the third one comes out, she's been on at the CIA 3 or 4 years. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. So she's made a friend on the force. It's the only friend she has in the world, blah, 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 blah. And she's murdered during an insurrection.
Right.
And that's, you know what I mean? And then away we go.
Yeah. And she stabbed somebody with a flag.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm ready.
Yes.
Becky takes on MAGA.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I think for people listening to this, kind of when you're thinking of these two movies, by the time, you're all in pretty soon with her. Like it doesn't take long to root for her and all of that. But by the time you get to the end of that second movie, it is just like Becky's up there now. Becky is like, one of the best action characters. You're all. It's impossible. I think it's impossible to not be all in after seeing the second movie.
Yeah. Oh, and one of my favorite things that we should definitely rant about before the end of the show is that the first two movies, because they choose neo-Nazis and misogynist fascists as the bad guys, people have called this this franchise woke and leftist propaganda. Yeah. I'd like to point out, Matt, that Nazis were always bad guys. Right. Bad guys. Right. In fact, if anything, they're so low hanging fruit bad guys. It doesn't because these movies are short, they literally say neo-Nazis and Proud Boys because in my head I just go, bad guys. Don't even care. Yeah. Bad guys. Kill him.
Right.
So when we talk about people like Donald Trump and MAGAism and things like that. Donald Trump, big businessmen
Right.
who fuck over the little guy,
Yeah.
they've always been the bad
Yes.
guys in movies.
Right.
Die Hard, that movie you watch at Christmas
Yes.
that you really love, and blah 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 blah.
Right. Yes.
Anyway.
No, because you're absolutely correct. Like, so I always call it baddie in a can. Like think of PM Entertainment movie Riot. You know, they need a fight scene, and so you know Gary Daniels and Sugar Ray Leonard at a bar, and a bunch of right-wing neo-Nazi racist types.
Sorry, hang on one second. Not Die Hard. Sorry, that was a bad example. What I meant was Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. Oh yes, yeah, absolutely.
Because Roadhouse is
era.
a hillbilly favorite.
Right.
It's a Southern fan favorite.
Yeah.
It's a MAGA favorite. Like it's a right-wing Republican favorite.
Yeah.
Roadhouse. No one can talk shit about Roadhouse. Patrick Swayze is our boy. The bad guy in Roadhouse is basically Donald Trump.
Exactly.
So that's what.
Anyway, exactly. No, but yeah. What was it? I was up.
Sorry, you were talking about the diner filled with the bar filled.
Oh,
with,
right, and Riot, yeah, because like PM Entertainment did this all the time, right? Like, what are the I always called it baddie in a can. You just pop it open and you've got bad guys, and you easily root against them. Neo-Nazis is an easy one. Racists of any kind is an easy one. People that attack women or dogs. I mean, think of Ring of Fire or Lion Strike, Ring of Fire 3, where it's like, poachers, easy baddie in a can. Now the big one is trafficking, right? They kind of use trafficking. And I think that's part of the problem is that trafficking is the new one that they use all the time. And they don't use neo-Nazis or Nazis as much as they used to. But it used to be, you're right, that if
because they don't want to offend the actual Nazis.
Right, which is crazy,
you know
right?
I mean?
That we're at this stage. It's absolutely, because you're absolutely right. Like there's something woke about this movie. It's that
Nothing
Nazis and Proud Boys, right? They're just easy. They're bad people, and so they're baddie in a can. That's all it is. Is that they're bad guys that you don't need to develop much.
Right.
You instantly know
they're Joss Ackland
right.
in Lethal Weapon 2.
Exactly.
Oh, he's an apartheid white businessman fuck who's, of course.
Easy.
Kill that guy.
Right.
Kill that guy.
Yeah.
And not only that, but he has diplomatic immunity, which is even more frustrating from the heroes.
That's right.
Right?
Yes, that's right.
But you know what I mean? But like, this is the thing, is that we don't want the thing that I find absolutely just insane is that people will throw the word woke around when what they mean is, I don't like being called a Nazi when I'm acting exactly like a Nazi.
Yeah.
And it's just, it is what it is. And the thing is, look, I'm the first to say that comparing people to Nazis or comparing people to Hitler is incredibly overdone and incredibly blown out. Not just about Trump, but they've called everybody they don't like Hitler since 1950. Every single fucking politician you don't like, he might as well be Hitler.
Yeah.
So I totally understand how no one wants to make that comparison. And if you don't want to make that comparison, fine. Magadom, then Trumpism, whatever you want to call it, it's the new neo-Nazi. Deal with it. It just is what it is, because what you are doing is terrible and racist and misogynist and anti-American.
Yeah. This is what I always say, is that like reality has what conservatives would call a left-leaning bias, but it's reality. Reality doesn't have a political bias at all. It doesn't, it's reality. And
it's not our fault that the left are more associated with being nice people than the right.
Right. It's
not our fault.
It's just reality.
It's just we happen to be nice people.
Right. It's just reality. And so this movie is working on that basis of reality. It's reality that these are bad people. Neo-Nazis are bad people. And
they're looking to murder a female Hispanic senator because she's a female Hispanic senator.
Right, exactly. And it's baddie in a can. It's easy, And so, if you're offended about that, that's on you, right? I mean,
that's on you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with woke, right? I mean, there's two things. I mean, first, woke means, my understanding is the term comes from in the South when, there were lynchings and things like that. That was like a warning, like, hey, there's a lynching in this town. Everybody, stay woke, meaning warning other black people, be careful when you come here. But now it's become, what was it in the 90s? It was PC in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know,
Political correctness.
right. That was the thing. Everybody's PC, which is just a way of saying I want to be a racist, and you telling me I can't be a racist, you're being PC. You know, and it's like, no, you're a racist. You were a racist in the '90s. You're a racist now. And so now you're afraid that you're being, you know, that people are being woke by calling you a racist.
It's really simple. If the joke is punching down, it's a shitty joke.
Exactly.
If it's punching either at yourself or punching up, it's perfectly acceptable. And I don't care. You could punch up. I suppose you could punch up and also be a racist. But I mean, in general, if you're punching up, you understand the hierarchy of society. And you're most likely not blaming it on the poor.
Yeah, if you're concerned, you know, I think it's, you know, woke has become this. It's this again. It's whatever the new term is that they pull. You know, DEI.
But it's also horseshit as well.
Exactly.
It's also horseshit.
It's always
because people. I mean, I have sat here on my podcast, said whatever I wanted to say whenever I've wanted to say it, and I'm absolutely fine doing it.
We cancel, right? Because again, you live in reality. You're not a bad person. I think those are the two big things, right? You know, it's like I think I made this joke one time. I was on your podcast a while back, and I didn't realize you were recording early on. And I made this joke that I was like, "Thank God I'm not a racist," because I might have said something racist, you know, and you would have recorded it, you know. And it was just more of a joke, you know, just like, "Oh, thank God I'm not a racist," you know. But it's, you know, it's like when you hear people saying things racist on hot mics, it's like, well, they're racist. They're bad, you know. It's like, you know, like. Yes, most people when they're on a hot mic don't say something racist because they're not racist. Right?
That's true.
Right.
But also, action movies are not woke.
Right.
No. Nazis have always been the bad guys. Businessmen have always been the bad guys. Fat cats.
Yeah.
And if you go back to fairy tales and whatever, it was kings and queens and the monarchy, and or it was landowners, or it was what I mean. Go through the ages. The villains have always lived at the top.
Yes. And
the heroes have always lived at the bottom. Right. And so I look forward to Becky becoming the full John Wick action hero. And I hope that the only reason why we're still waiting to hear full news on Becky 3 and why it hasn't gone into production yet is because the wonderful Lulu Wilson is in fact working out and studying martial arts in order to go full Wick in the third one.
I agree. I'm hopefully this movie comes. I mean, it was 3 years after the last one, so hopefully maybe in the next year or two we're going to get another Becky. I'm hoping, you know, she comes back and does this role again. Even if she's getting to be really big, I think she is starting to get bigger. She's getting bigger roles now. But hopefully they got to make it soon while they can still afford her, I think, because at some point she's going to command too much money for that, you know.
I mean, at 16, when she was interviewed about the second film, she was like, I want to play Becky the rest of my life. Now, okay, she's 16 and that might change. But I'm just saying, like, she's down to play it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And to be honest, if they continue at this caliber, again, I would like to see them change up directors. I think Jesse V. Johnson is an amazing call, but like any of those sort of straight to video action guys, the guy who did Diablo would be great. I'd love to see the guy who did Diablo would be a great director for this. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but anyone like that would be amazing. And so I hope they continue with that trend in Mission Impossible style. Well, this episode on the Becky films was recorded last year. I think fall of last year. I think it's taken me that long to get around to edit it. It's taken me so long that apparently an all-new Becky film set for release in September of 2026, which is currently in post-production, is coming out, which is very exciting. It's called The Last Temptation of Becky. It is written again by Matt Angel and Suzanne Coote, who wrote the second film. Stars Lulu Wilson again. The big bad is Neil Patrick Harris, which I'm a little suspect about. It's a little on the nose. It's a little of an issue, but okay. Neil Patrick Harris. The description on IMDb says, now a CIA field agent, Becky goes undercover in Poland to infiltrate a family running an inn at the Wolf's Lair, one of Hitler's World War II bunkers. When she learns the father, Wilhelm Roos, plans to spark a Fourth Reich, Becky must stop him. So that is the plot of the third one. It is coming out soon. It's in post-production at the moment. And it is directed by Jen Wexler. Jen Wexler, who has produced a variety of low-budget horror and horror action films and directed a couple, most notably The Ranger from 2018 and The Sacrifice Game from 2023. So time to go watch those films, I guess, and see what they're like. I'm going to see if there's any more information I can find. It looks like they predominantly filmed in Belfast, Northern Ireland, with additional photography taking place in New York City. And currently, Lulu Wilson can be seen in the Hulu movie, The Pizza Movie, which is out right now. The original writer-directors were on as executive producers for the sequel, but there is nothing that I can find anywhere that explains why they didn't direct the sequel and why they didn't have a hand in writing it. The best explanation that I can find when I Google it now is that the overall producers did not want the same tone as the first one and wanted to go for a more kind of comedic tone for the second one, which is why the original directors and writers were on as executive producers and not as full-blown writers and directors. However, the writer-directors basically write and direct the sequel. There are no other writers from the previous films. Although the two writers from the first movie have made another revenge movie that I believe is on like Tubi right now. Let me look it up. Let's see what it's called. But it's sort of it's another female revenge movie, I think.
Yeah.
So Ruckus Skye and Lane Skye, who wrote the first one along with Nick Morris, they did a movie called The Devil to Pay in 2019. Which is on Tubi right now, and it says, after the disappearance of her husband, a struggling farmer in an isolated Appalachian community fights to save her son when the cold-hearted matriarch of the oldest family on the mountain demands payment of a debt that could destroy a decades-old truce.
Okay.
So it looks like another sort of female revenge movie, but it looks to be maybe set in the past, maybe set in the 70s, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just looking at the trailer now. So I might go ahead and watch that movie. That seems like if they wrote the first Becky, they probably have written something worth watching. And I would check out what these other directors and writers do in the future, because I really, as I said, I was blown away by these two movies. They are, I know Paramount Plus is not popular right now, but they are streaming on Paramount Plus. I believe you can also rent them on Amazon. So yeah. I don't know. One devil's as bad as the other, but
because
whatever you want.
Showtime, you have to have the Showtime addition to your Paramount Plus, I believe, to be able to get them. But all of these ones are bad. I think that's the unfortunate reality. Tubi's owned by Fox, and so not the Fox that was bought by Disney, but the Fox that does Fox News and all that jazz. So. It's you just kind of the number one thing you can do if whether it's Paramount, Tubi, Disney, or any of them, if you're supporting good indie works like this, I think you feel good about yourself. Same with my books on Amazon. You buy my books on Amazon, you're supporting me. Yes, you are also supporting the Bezos machine, unfortunately. But if you're supporting good indie stuff out there, you're sending a message. I hope to the bigger studios that we want more of this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I have looked around the internet. There was a special edition Blu-ray released of Becky 1. I'm not sure who released it, but there are several new copies on eBay, and I think I don't know if Amazon has it, but I think Orbit DVD and maybe even Grindhouse Video had a copy, I think. Yeah. So it is out there. The first one is out there on Blu-ray. I'm going to be picking it up. The second one, however, there is a Hong Kong release and there is a German release. But I have not found anything other than DVD in the US. And I think that's a real fucking shame, because I think these movies pop with their cinematography, and at the very least, I want to see it 1080p, if not 4K. So who knows if the third one comes out and it's popular? Maybe we do finally get maybe an Arrow or a Shout Factory or someone putting these out. Maybe Vinegar Syndrome will step up to the plate. I don't know. It's a great Severin title with all the violence and stuff. It would be a great Severin title. So I hope someone picks these up. But until then, I'll be buying an import and the Blu-ray, because it's another way to say, yeah, all right, I streamed it on Paramount Plus using my sister-in-law's subscription, but I will go out and put money where my mouth is, and hopefully some of that from the Blu-ray sales does get to the filmmakers. We end. Matt, tell everyone where they can find you, what you're about, and pimp your stuff.
Yes, dtvconnoisseur.blogspot.com. That's the site. That's where the reviews are, but also links to everything. Links to the podcast, which you can find on all major podcatchers, DTVC Podcast. YouTube channel. So we have a DTVC YouTube channel. You can find us there again. And my novel, my newest book, Nadia and Aiden, is available on Kindle, Kindle Unlimited, and paperback. Also, all of my books. You can go to my author page, but the link to that is at dtvconnoisseur.blogspot.com. Find any of my books on Amazon as well. I've got 5 others.
Andy Lunn, the aforementioned Andy Lunn, who is a knowledgeable expert on all things that is excellent. Call Matt's books. Bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
So if Andy Lunn,
which I appreciate so much, and Andy likes them. I think
listen, he likes this podcast. He's a man of discerning taste.
Yeah, and I think for people listening, if you're like, boy, I don't know if I want to read Matt's books, people are reading them and they like them, so
you're
going to be
so fucking read them.
Yes, read them.
Yeah, read them.
Pick them up,
because you're missing out. Is what it is. They say FOMO, Matt, and I'm saying that the audience of this podcast are missing out on your books, and they need to pick them up. The person who isn't missing out on them is Andy Lunn, because he's a genius. Yeah. Thank you, Andy, for supporting Matt. So and Matt, thank you for continuing to help drag the After Movie Diner through each year with joy and laughter. This has been a thrill. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. Yeah.